Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Club Iron podcast. Today we are joined by a monumental guest. Now this is the first guest that we've ever had on who is into combat sports. Some of you might know him as the Pikey, some of you might know him as the Weekend Offender, but we are joined today by Mr. Brett Johns, the first ever Welshman to step foot inside the UFC octagon. That's a mad fact, actually.
Not many people say it like that either, because they always say, the first Welsh guy to get in the UFC, but that's not actually right. That's not. Like, everybody says that all the time. But the first Welsh guy to step foot in the octagon, that's actually right.
Because it was you and Jack Marshman, wasn't it?
Well, Marshman signed 3 weeks before I did, and so like he was technically the first Welsh guy in the UFC. But the way the card went on the night, then I was like second fight on, and Marshman was bloody hell. Marshman wasn't even far off the main card, even his first fight, you know. So I was technically the first guy to fight, but Marshman was the first guy to sign. So we both got our little niche market we can sell ourselves on now. Like I remember when Marshman did sign, they put like a banner outside the gym saying like, oh, the first Welsh fight in the UFC. But then I could always play on, or the first Welsh fighter to fight in the UFC. So we both got our own little thing there, like, you know.
Yeah, that's mad though. I mean, being the first Welsh guy to be in the UFC, what was that like? Obviously, you know, it's this massive. The UFC is huge now, and you were the first of two.
Yeah, to be honest, the whole week leading up, I'll always remember that Belfast show, you know, because not a lot of people know the whole situation on how it happened or why it happened. But I had a phone call. So obviously the fight was the 18th of November, and I had a phone call on the 24th of October to say that potentially I'd had a UFC fight. Now, for anybody that doesn't really know the sort of sport well, to even be offered, you know, verbally offered a fight is like a huge deal. You know, you're going to be fighting for the world's biggest promotion out there. But I try and explain to people, it's amazing. Of course it is. You know, you're fighting for the UFC, and that would be amazing. But you know how many times I was told that before that point, and it was hard to kind of get up for it because I've been told so many times. And but this one was slightly different because first things first, my manager phoned me. Now he doesn't usually phone me because he's based out in where's he based now? He's based somewhere in America anyway, right? And he phoned me, and obviously the time difference stuff, like, and I remember it was the 24th of October because it was my youngest brother's birthday, and he was 18, so it was his first night out in Swansea. A little bit worried because, yeah, he, honestly, like, he's a great laugh, but he's a clown. And
were you with him?
No. So I was
going to say, you got nothing to worry about.
I know. I was in bed. And I was up all night because I was worried about him because like he has a good crack, but sometimes then because he's like that, then it draws attention, or so he rubs up someone the wrong way. So I was up, and my phone went off, and I just assumed it was going to be Swansea Central, but it wasn't. It was my manager, and he'd phoned me up to say that there was an opportunity to fight in Belfast, and I was like, oh, okay, this is slightly different because I've never been phone called before for this. And then 24 hours later, I remember getting the call then after an Ogie session and said, welcome to UFC. But to be honest, that wasn't actually the first time I was offered to be on that card. So I was saying about the 24th of October, but weeks before then, Ross Pearson had a pull out in the show. And I was like, my manager phoned me and said, look, Ross Pearson's pulled out. Do you want in? And if anybody knows Ross Pearson, the guy's big, really big. So he's a lightweight. And I was fighting a bantamweight at the time. I said, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, fine. Just get my foot in the door.
That was a lightweight fight, was it?
That would have been a lightweight, yeah.
Shit.
And my manager's like, how much do you weigh? I'm like, and in pounds, like, it's, you know, 155 is lightweight, but you've got guys cutting from like 180 down to 155. So in kilogram terms, you know, the lightweight is 70 kilos, but you've got boys cutting from 80 kilos, 77 kilos down. So my manager's like, Ross Pearson had a pull out, do you want in? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, how much do you weigh? And I thought, right, whatever I say isn't going to be good. So I'm just going to add like 10 pounds onto that, whatever number I am. So I went, yeah, I'm probably about 160, 165, and I was 150. Like, to me, I was 5 pounds underweight. So it wasn't good, like. And then he said, oh, and he said Stevie Ray had stepped in and fought him on the night anyway. And then I had another phone call later to say that I was fighting a bantamweight. And he goes, oh, you're big, bro. And you're like, no, I'm back down. So I tried to lie the other way then. But, it ended up on the actual night itself, I don't remember much. Not much at all. Even to this day, the only reason why I know that things happened is because of video footage of me. But I'd be lying if I said I could remember me, especially post-fight. when I walk out to a fight, I'm so scared and nervous. You know, so most of the time I cry because I'm that scared.
Oh yeah.
Get so angry, and I say angry. It's not so much anger. It's more to do with fear, really.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, and I get scared, but that's when I realise I perform at my best is when I'm in them sort of scenarios. And I remember, you know, getting called up, getting into the arena, and I'd never fought in front of that many people before in my life. And as I'm there, bounce up and down, my whole family had luckily had bought tickets next to the fight or walkout tunnel. My whole family, so everybody, my brother, my brothers, you know, my missus, I saw everybody there. And I looked up and I could see McGregor, and this was a week after he'd beaten Eddie Alvarez for the 2 belts. So this is like peak McGregor, and like even with me walking out to the fight, like my whole family was like, "Oh, McGregor's there," and I'm walking up the other way, and then McGregor's there. But and I remember getting to the fight, and yeah, just blacked out completely, really blacked out.
What do you mean blacked out?
Don't remember. You know, like when you've had too many beers, you black out, or too many ciders. I blacked out.
Yeah.
And post-fight interview with Dan Hardy, of course, I remember. Sorry, I don't remember it, but I've seen it. I've seen what I say. Obviously, I could see different things. I don't remember it. Walk out to the arena, past the media guys who sit next to the cage. Don't remember speaking to them, but they said I spoke to them. Saw one of the boys, Elliot Thomas, on the way out, give him a hug, crying to him, and he was crying to me. Don't remember that happening. And the only time I really, really can remember me coming round was I was sitting on the toilet in the SSC arena. So I was sitting on the toilet on my phone, and then I remember coming around. And then I walked back in the changing room, and like when you have fights, you're in separate changing rooms. So you fight in the red corner changing room, the blue corner, and then you might have a couple of other changing rooms for the neutral fighters. And I come back in the changing room, and like nobody reacted. And like usually when people walk in and they've won, there he goes, "Hey, well done, congratulations."
Yeah, you would have thought it would have been like, you know.
Yeah, nobody reacted though, and it was a bit weird. Like I thought, well, is this UFC now? Nobody cares about like other people doing well in the sport.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to my coach at the time and saying like, nobody said like, "Well done" or anything, because yeah, you've been in here twice before, and that you know that, don't you? I'm like, no, I don't realise that.
Shit.
So people had
So you'd already gone in.
Gone in, yeah, but I didn't remember. Yeah, so
Shit, I'm starting to understand this. So you literally have no vision of
No
it. Well, even
recollection.
as you were going through the night, you forgot what you just done.
Yeah, so basically I only come around like an hour and a half after the fight, where mentally I believe it was about an hour and a half, maybe an hour after the fight, where I'd come around, you know, and I was sitting on the toilet for a reason, because something had happened, like, I don't know if it was because of the nervous energy, but I have never ever needed the toilet that bad before in my life, like, do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
And I was sitting there, and I was on my phone, and then people were coming in, "All right, Brett," and yeah, apparently I was on the toilet for like 40 minutes, you know what I mean? So I was just sitting there, you know, but that's the first time and only time it's ever happened, you know, and but people would assume it was because the punches in the fight and the amount of damage, but it didn't take much damage considering the fights that I've been in. I wouldn't have said that fight wasn't even in my top 5, I'd say, for damaging fights, you know, but that was the day. But like I said, then afterwards, then going back to the hotel and speaking to UFC fighters and meeting up with certain guys, and obviously I met with McGregor after that as well. He was walking backstage and had a chat with McGregor and stuff. And yeah, it was a special moment. And just like I always say to any fighter who's got a fight, you'll always remember, you know, your first ever fight. You'll always remember that. Mine was at Aberdeen Leisure Centre, Michael Sports Centre.
Is it Aberdeen Leisure Centre?
Yeah. It's knocked down.
It's
It's been rebuilt now. So it's
How does that compare to the UFC Octagon then?
it's more violent than Aberdeen.
Really?
In the crowd, you're safer in the cage in Aberdeen than outside the cage.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good experience, and then going forward, then you remember that fight. You remember your big fights like your UFC debut and stuff, and then weirdly I'll always remember the Soto fight, not because the calf slicer, but because it was in Vegas, and I've always wanted to fight in Vegas, and I did fight in Vegas, and that was one of the things I wanted to do. And there was no more than like 500 people in the crowd. It wasn't like a big show, because the show after that was a big show. It was like, that was on a Friday night, and then the Saturday night they had a show in like Canada. And
it was the finale, the Ultimate Fighter.
That's right, yeah. So it was like, I think the show after us was when Francis Ngannou knocked out Overeem with the uppercut.
Oh, in Vancouver.
That's it. Yeah. So that was the day after.
UFC 218.
I'm not too sure. Your knowledge is probably better than mine than that. Yeah,
I remember that.
But the one that I was on was the women's Ultimate Fighter. I think it was Nico Montano. She won the flyweight belt.
There's your Roxanne Modafferi.
That's in the final, yeah. And then I remember then afterwards because it was one of them fights where I've never ever I've always left the fight and I've always had some sort of mild concussion. I don't exactly want to go out on the piss really. I just want to kind of go back to the hotel, chill out. Maybe I will have 1 or 2 pints, but it's tough to get in the zone.
I can only imagine.
And only that as well. Everybody else who's there watching, your family, well, they're on the sesh all day. I'm not on the sesh.
So they're leather by the time.
Oh, they're leathered, yeah. So by the time I finish and I want to go out and party, everybody's like, I'm going to bed. So and that always happens. So you're better off having an extra day after the fight than to go out with the family. But this time I don't know why it was obviously the fight was 30 seconds. Didn't take a shot. So then next thing I know, I'm up in my room and I'm getting ready to go out. I didn't even get changed. I literally took my fight shorts off, which I'm not sure if anybody remembers, but the shorts I wore weren't board shorts. They were tight Valetudo shorts. So I took my shorts off, took my box off, threw my box in the suitcase, put my Valetudos back on, put a Welsh flag as a sarong on, and went out in the piss in Vegas And then remember being in New York with everybody, and we were leathered, and the drink portion out there is incredible. And I don't drink beer, so I drink cider, and they don't have much cider in America. So it's usually vodka Red Bull. And I was drinking that all night, and next thing I know, I went back to the room, and then my missus, my brother's missing, my brother, they all passed out and went to sleep. And I thought, well, I'm not ready to go to bed yet, So I went on my own in Vegas. Next thing I knew, blacked out. And I'm having breakfast 5 a.m. with Nico Montano in Denny's, outside the strip, And I was there with the whole family. It was just me on my own, sitting there with them. I looked to the right, and Nico Montano is busted up, do you know what I mean? She's busted up, but she's there with a belt, and I'm just eating breakfast with her. I don't know what I said. I don't know how it came about me being on that table with them.
That's funny.
That's mad. Vegas seems nuts as well. Oh, especially when you earn 50 grand for submission of the night in 30 seconds.
Well, I would say is
that the kind of money?
Well, it's the bonus money is 50 G's, but I remember when they were like, oh, you've won performance tonight. It's my first one.
Yeah, you probably went through that night.
Yeah.
Vodka.
Yeah, I know. But I ended up. They ended up giving me the check for it. And they give me the check, and I'm like, all right, okay. I said, look, I'm no mathematician. I said, but that doesn't say 50K. That says 35K.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, and he goes, you ever fought in America before? I said, well, not really. And he goes, well, welcome to Vegas. That's Vegas tax for you. And I got taxed 15 grand before you even get in the check, really.
But don't you get taxed on it afterwards as well?
You can get double tax in the UK, but if you look deeper down, there's ways to get around all that,
15K.
So, yeah, that was gone before they even give me the check. I was gone. Yeah, so that was the first time I learned about tax in America. But there's pros and cons with that. People are like, oh, so you prefer to fight home? Well, not really. I don't mind fighting in America because the money isn't bad. I don't know why, but people kind of go, oh, when's the next fight? They go, oh, it's in Vegas or LA, and they go, oh, money better. Well, no, it's the same money. It's the same contract. It's just doesn't matter where it is. It could be in Timbuktu. I'm still getting the same money, But it's just things with the tax. Then it's slightly different,
Yeah.
So the last 2 fights I've had have been in Dublin.
I was there.
Yeah.
It was good night, that was.
Yeah. Which one? The last
John
one?
Winsky. Yeah.
Lewinsky. Yeah, he was a tough little cookie. He was
That was a good fight actually, and a lot of people you said
yourself,
Rob,
not a lot of people, it rubbed up. But I'm not sure. Look, at the end of the day, I know my style, and it's not the most attractive style to watch. I'm no Mike Tyson. Might look like him, but no, I don't. But at the end of the day, it's my style, do you know what I mean? And
how would you describe that then? Because I sort of want to use this opportunity to say I'm not as into UFC or MMA as Matthew.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not someone who's been that exposed to it and watched it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of representing those that don't really know the sport.
Yeah.
So if I'm asking you, how would you describe sort of your style to somebody who doesn't really know the sport that well?
Yeah, you got different characters in the game, as in different martial arts that they've kind of studied or done for example, me and Liam have been wrestlers for as long as I can remember, really. And regardless of if we've done wrestling classes or if we haven't done wrestling classes, it's just our style. We're wrestlers. So we like to take the fight on the floor and kind of dominate people through position.
Jiu-jitsu and stuff like that.
Well, that's where the other section comes in then. So you've got two types of obviously grapplers. You've got the wrestlers in the game, and then you've got the grapplers who are the jiu-jitsu guys who base themselves on submissions. And then wrestlers are don't get me wrong, they both can do the same things as each other, but you'll always, with every fight, you'll see a favourable sort of sport or strategy. So for example, like I was a judo player starting off, started judo when I was 4 until 16, then crossed over to MMA. But even in my judo days, it had more of a wrestling sort of touch to my game. So I was going in there, taking people down and trying to beat them up on the floor. That was just my style. You know, over the years, I've had fights where people have like, you know, not too happy with my performance, didn't like the way I fought. But then I've had fights then which people go, wow, that's one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Is it because...
that was a big fight. You know, I fought a Brazilian guy called Pedro Munoz, who's been in the top 10 for maybe the last like 12 years, something stupid like that. The guy's been an animal. And don't get me wrong, I think I didn't really go in there with a clever mind. I went in there with a bit of I wouldn't say a chip on my shoulder. I just fought Aljamain Sterling, who's now the UFC bantamweight champion. I fought Aljo. And lost against Aljo, and I didn't feel like I put the best performance across. In fact, it was the first loss of my career. And looking back now, I wouldn't have said at the time, but looking back now, I probably took that quite hard. You know, obviously you do always remember your first loss and remember where you were and how it felt. After that fight, man, I remember going backstage and being like, that 15 minutes went like that. And it was just gone. That moment was gone. And I think I went out into the Pedro fight with a bit of a chip on my shoulder, saying I didn't want to fight like that. And I went in there for that type of fight, and it was...
He sounds like a jiu-jitsu guy to me.
Yeah. Well, Pedro was known for, obviously, he was... He's known for one of his moves called the guillotine. And the guillotine is something that he's taught, like, some of the Gracies and stuff, the way the setup, he's done it. And the Gracies, like, use it to this day. So he was quite good at doing that.
Yeah.
And that was the dangerous aspect. But with Pedro, he had power. He could knock people out. I remember when he threw like a right hand at me, and I put my shoulder up and it hit me on the shoulder. I thought, I don't want that land on my chin. Do not want that land on my chin whatsoever. And I remember the fight, and to be honest, like I said, I'm known for taking people down, beating up. And the first round we went out the first round, and I'm picking him off, like, and I'm thinking, this is going way too smooth. This shouldn't be happening, really. And I haven't taken down.
Shouldn't be happening.
I did shoot a takedown on him, and this is the gospel truth. I shot a takedown on him, had my hands clasped, and in my head I went, oh, well, that was easy. I could always go back to that then, and I let go of it and didn't pursue the takedown. One, he was fresh. Two, you know, we're both quite dry. So what I mean by that is, like, we're not sweating, and when you're dry early on, you don't want to get caught in a submission, because sometimes you can rely on sweat to get you out of the submission. Do you know what I mean?
Slip out
again. Yeah. So, like, we were dry. He was quite strong and fresh. I thought if I can wear him out a little bit, then the takedown will become easier. But I did get the full butt grip. I just chose to let it go. Then started using my boxing more or less then. And I was working with Dan Wilson at the time, who's been with me since, like, early 2017. And we were getting good on the feet with each other, you know. And he started aiming for the low calf kick, which was causing a bit of an issue, really. And didn't really affect me so much in that first round. But then looking back, the judges had scored the first round to me. But then the second round, within like 15, 20 seconds, he'd caught me in the calf, and I couldn't even stand that leg then.
It's a nerve, see, the calf, isn't it?
Yeah, the calf kick is one.
I've been kicked to the calf before. Probably not that hard, but...
Well, to be honest, like I said, it doesn't need to be that hard, the calf kick.
It just numbs everything.
That's exactly what... Yeah, so I couldn't even put the pressure on my leg then, and I think the first round had gone smoother than what I anticipated, and then to put it quite frank, the second round went, to put it bluntly, tits up. You know, it did. It just went awful. I think he hit me with, like, because he was clever, so he knew he'd kicked me so many times in my left leg that I had to switch stance to southpaw. And when I switched to southpaw, because I was working on both stances anyway, you know, if I wasn't going to switch southpaw, you keep kicking that leg until the referee stopped the fight. But because I switched southpaw, I was like, well, I'll go back southpaw and work off this. And I was getting a lot of success southpaw. But the only problem is then he caught me with like a front kick to the stomach, and it just sat me down. My whole system just shut down. And I hit the deck. And I remember thinking, I was looking up like, and just seeing Pedro Munoz run towards me, thinking, this ain't good. This is not good.
Shit.
Yeah. And he started, all fairness, he started wading the shots. And then Blake Rice was the referee at the time, which to this day I'm thankful he didn't stop the fight. He was like, you gotta move. So I started moving, managed to get back my feet. He went for a guillotine, rolled up the first one, but when I rolled up the first one, I ended up in the second one straight away and rolled out of that one. So then Pedro Munoz's guillotine now, this amazing guillotine, I managed to get two of them on the spot, like, that was a big enough for me. I would have left the cage at that point, like, thumbs up, job done. And then I remember he caught me in the calf again, dropped me again. Because there was just absolutely nothing there by the end of it. He was kicking, I was falling over because there was just no strength in the leg.
Yeah.
And then about like a minute 20 left in the fight, I ended up having a bit of success southpaw and started like really picking off big shots, catching big shots. And I felt like the second round was starting to like sway towards me, the end of the second round.
Momentum.
I thought, brilliant, this is what we need. And then, because I was landing so cleanly, I was hitting angles on him, hitting uppercuts on him, and they were landing clean. I thought, and you could even hear Joe Rogan saying, like, you can't take many more of these. And then I got a bit confident, poked my chin out, and then he went to kick me low in the leg, and then went upstairs and kicked me square in the mouth. And I remember thinking, like, he took a step back, and I thought, right, don't show that you're hurt, because I was hurt. I'm looking at 3 of Pedro Munoz here. I'm trying to concentrate the middle one. And then I took a step and stumbled, and I think that's the point when he went, oh, you're hurt, and I fell back.
When he says hurt, right, and it sounds like a bit of a bitch thing for me to say.
Yeah.
But how much does it actually hurt when you're getting battered?
Oh, nothing at all in there. Like in my opinion, like don't get me wrong, like the aftermath is like, yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong, like when I got kicked in the leg, it kind of hurt, but
because you see fighters and they literally battering each other. Right?
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, are you not in serious pain right now? Why are you continuing to put yourself in that position?
Adrenaline is probably the best drug I've ever had. Like, the adrenaline.
I mean, I've already done no-gi comps, so it's not. I've never been in the cage.
But still, though, doing like no-gi, grappling, boxing, kickboxing, anything, even a game of rugby, you'll get that adrenaline. You know, if you think about it now, you know, obviously both play rugby.
No, not really.
No,
just did a bit of boxing. MMA.
Boxing, any other sports?
Not really, no. That's the thing. See, I'm just trying to. I've never been in a combat scenario.
Yeah, but even rugby, for example, you look at some of the hits that some of the rugby boys do.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, I must have hurt. And they get up and carry on. It's adrenaline. We just get in different stages, and people say, oh, yeah, but it's not a fight. It doesn't really matter. It depends on the individual and how scared they are at that moment in time and how their body reacts to it. But yeah, I've been caught with some bad big shots. Like, yeah, I have been, and I'm thinking shots where realistically should have put me unconscious, but they haven't. Touch wood, they haven't. You know,
adrenaline keeps you up, and it keeps you alive.
Sort of, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's got a button. Once that button's pressed, you're done. Like, do you know what I mean? But I remember it was the Pedro fight again, and in that second round, he had me like in like a tie clinch, and this is good for when you want to knee people in the face. So you've got both hands wrapped around the head, and then they knee you flat out. And I remember blocking. I'm thinking, blocked it, sucker. You can't get it. And all of a sudden, it was like the Zohan. Some knee just popped on the side and whacked me straight in the face. It was out of nowhere. But he's got a third knee or something. Where did that come from? And it caught me, and that fractured the outside of my cheekbone. And then, like a few years later, when I fought on Fight Island, I fought Montel Jackson. And in the third round, I was a bit tired. He was a bit tired, but like he knew I was going to shoot the takedown, feinted, and as I shot, he threw a knee up the centre, and it whacked me on the inner side of my face here. There was no blocking before it. It was knee to face straight away, boom. And that fractured the inside of my face then. But still managed to finish both fights as in the time, you know. At the end of the day, it's like, the one thing that terrifies me, honestly, in fighting is not getting knocked out, because people might disagree with me, or they might think, oh, it's the wrong way of thinking. My day's coming. I know that. I'm not afraid of it. You know, I've rolled the dice enough times now to realise my turn's coming up here.
Yeah, it'll happen eventually.
Yeah, it might not, and if it doesn't, then brilliant. But like, I'm okay with the fact that I could be. One thing I'm not okay with though is being in a position where I can quit, as in quit on the stool or quit in the fight.
Yeah,
you won't see me do that. Like
So that scares you more than being battered.
Oh, I'd be battered and knocked out, fine with me. Absolutely fine with me. The ref calls it off, fine with me. You know, I tap out, fine with me. But as in, I'm all about quitting in the fight. As in, like, you're on the stool in between rounds and you've just had enough. And I was like, no, I
give in to your opponent.
Yeah. Like, I've never been in that position before, and I never want to be in that position. You know?
Yeah, that's the thing. See, a lot of people see the UFC, right? They see the production, the lights. They see Joe Rogan on the desk, DC on the desk. But they don't remember it's a fight.
Yeah.
It's like, it's two men going to war.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You see that?
Yeah, it seems like a movie, doesn't it? It's like a big production. That's how we see it, on the screen.
Yeah.
You forget that you've got that going in your head that I've got to fight this person. I've got to make something out of this. Yeah.
The only thing is, it's like the UFC is like obviously a major promotion, but that is not what I against Pedro, against Aljo, against Soto, against Montel, against Gravely. that has absolutely no difference whatsoever than me fighting in Llanelli Leisure Centre. It's two men fighting in the cage. More of a tinut, twice over. Thanks, Liam. Where I made my career. Yeah. But they're moments though. Like I was trying to say this to people. They're the moments that I like. I love. My first couple of pro fights in the early days, just fighting in pubs and clubs. And
2 in 1 night in Cage Warriors.
2 in 1 night in Cage Warriors.
We'll get onto that in a
yeah,
bit.
that was a big one. But like the ones like even earlier than then, really before signing with the promotion, I was just a kid from Swansea, just fighting on the weekend. I was working 9 to 5 and going out on the weekend and fighting, and then coming back. And when's the next one?
I didn't know you had a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I had a 9 to 5 job. Yeah, I was on the building site with Cuddies. I'm not sure if you remember Cuddies. It was like a ground working firm. It was like, and they sponsored the Ospreys at some point. But they were. I remember being my actual job title was Chain Boy. So I
Chain Boy.
That was my actual job title. So like, you have the engineers on site who would set out houses on their EDM machine, and they set the points of the houses. Then the boys would come in, dig the foot-ins, and then you put whatever way you do the foot-ins. They do that. Then we go back in and put the pins so the brickies knew where to work. But I was the guy that would be the Chain Boys apprentice, basically. That's what they were called. They were called Chain Boys. But now with technology changing so much, the EDM can work on its own now, and the engineer can hold the pogo stick himself and write notes on the pogo stick. So the Chain Boy's not needed. But I remember at the time it was like a family friend had got me a job, and he'd helped them out with a big contract. So, well, to put it bluntly, I was unsackable, really. You know, and like in a lifetime, with a Chain Boy, they said, like, with Chain Boys, they don't keep Chain Boys on. They'll go to a job, say they go to Swansea, they'll finish the Swansea job off and go to, like, I don't know, Llanelli. They won't keep that Chain Boy. They just get another one when they're at Llanelli, you know? It was like that. But weirdly, I was an exception. Like, instead of, like, an engineer going through 8 Chain Boys in a year, I went through 8 engineers. They kept on sacking engineers. I was with a new engineer. But I was there for like 2 years, and hated every second of it.
I feel you there. So
my last day on site, I cried. My last day on site,
Really?
I cried my eyes out. I remember going to site, and I remember phoning my missus, I remember phoning my mother, and just saying, I can't do this no more. I can't. You know, at the end of the day, I was like, you know, I was going up with my mates on the weekend, and then, like, I was training. Honestly, my schedule was Monday to Friday, 7:30 to 5. I was working on the site, on the shovel, because if I wasn't working with the engineer, he'd be in the office like 3 times a day doing like calculations and working outs and stuff, and I'd be there with the boys then, helping them on the shovel and stuff. So I'd be doing that from 7:30 to 5, not even going home, going straight to the gym training, then going home, then up again in the morning, doing the same thing Monday to Friday. I'd train Friday night, I'd go out Friday night, I'd train Saturday morning hungover, I'd go out Saturday night, I'd basically be hungover all day Sunday on a rest day and do the same thing again. And I did that for like 2 years non-stop. So I was training every night, I was on the piss in the weekends, and I was working. I was doing it constantly in like a cycle. It was all the thing. And then my last day on site, I remember doing it was like a concrete testing, to put it bluntly. Obviously, if you were going to pour a slab, they need to send the concrete off to check if it's legit and stuff, or if it's good enough. So then I sent these cubes. You'd make these like cubes, and then they get sent off for testing. They'd crush the cubes to see how strong it is and stuff. And I remember just doing that and thinking, I'm done. Like, it wasn't a case of like, I'm thinking, like, no. By that point, I was done. I went in the office and I went up my foreman. It was Steve Jones at the time. And I always remember his name because he was the last person who kind of said, he looked at me, and you obviously see like, oh, one of the boys walk off site. It's not really good for him. But he looked at me and he said, whatever you do in life, son, good luck, he said. And all the best. And I always remember that.
I knew you are.
Yeah, you know, like, it was funny at the time because I was like 5-0 as a professional. I'd won a British title by that point. So I think they kind of knew, oh, look, you can do this. You can take it a little bit further.
Yeah.
But I remember saying, and then I ended up having a sponsor, which lasted about 4 or 5 months, who was helping me out with monthly bills. It was just to pay my mother's rent, basically. And then at the point where they stopped and I couldn't even afford the rent, and then it ended up getting to the point where I'm sleeping in the gym, my car broke down, sold the car for 100 quid and all that depressing sob story about the time I had no money. And, you know, everybody's heard it 100 different times.
It's the thing with fighters, there's always a struggle story everywhere.
There is, especially financially as well, because, like, you know, my first fight I got paid 150 quid.
That's the thing, see, it doesn't seem to be... Same with also the sports that I'm really into, like strongman, powerlifting, is fuck all in that. Strongmen, unless you are number 1 in the world, you're getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's the same with that. To be honest, I think for a lot of sports like that, other than rugby and football, especially here in Wales. You know, rugby and football's a big one. But like, for example, like I was speaking to some of the judo team, because obviously that's how I started off. Like, and the funding for the Welsh Judo Association is poor, and then the British team is better, but it's still poor. And around the world, it's poor everywhere. But the guys who are in the top 5, they're okay. Do you know what I mean? So
but just them. Everybody else is even the guys who are like basically top in the world. They're still trying to make ends meet. It's only when you get into the top few. It's kind of bizarre.
It's mad. And like I said, I think, don't get me wrong, I understand that, like, obviously they've got like a budget that they've got to work on or whatever, but then like the whole thing with the sort of UFC pay, that's another thing as well. Like, where you are seeing, I'm seeing words.
Kind of worms opening up here, is it?
I'm seeing. I'm not even saying them no more. I can say what I want. I'm not saying them no more. But like, no, it's not even the case for that. Like, you know, I respect what Dana said about the whole, like, if you don't like the pay, then go, then step away. You know, and for me, you know, I just kind of, don't get me wrong. You know, the UFC is one of the premier organizations out there, which is, you know, you go anywhere in the world and say UFC, people have heard of the UFC. You know, but for me, I'm at a point in my career where I'm not getting any younger. You know, okay, some people will argue and say I'm hitting my prime now. I'm 31 years old, and for MMA, that's like your prime.
Okay.
And I've hit that. I'm hitting that. I feel good, feel strong, feel really good. Feeling a bit skinny at the minute because we might have a fight coming up, but that's another story. Right. And so like, you know, it's with the whole Dana White thing, he kind of said, look, if you're not happy with the pay, you can go. And me and another fighter, one of the 2 fighters really, which kind of said, all right, we'll go then, you know. Yeah. You know, I think at the time, it was like, obviously it was me and Corey Anderson, who's like a light heavyweight in Bellator, a really good fighter. We kind of went, well, all right, we'll go. Shane Burgos was another one, which was a surprise.
Featherweight.
Yeah, he's lightweight now though. He's fighting this weekend coming. Yeah, but Shane Burgos was a class fighter. How they let him go is
class
beyond
boxing as well.
Yeah, it's beyond me. It's beyond me how they let him go. Like with me, it was a case of like, I was lucky because I was on a 2-fight win streak, and they were like, oh look, you know, we want you to fight this guy, the Brazilian guy. I think it was Barcelos, if I can remember correctly, who's a good fighter. And I was like, right, okay, but we need to speak about contracts because obviously I'm out of contract. And then I basically described another fighter who at that point had the same record as me but didn't have the same amount of fights as me, but he was on $20,000 more fight. So that was like, so what I'm saying is, like, for example, in the UFC, your first paycheck, it's not secret really, is 10 and 10. So you will turn up to a fight and you will get $10,000 to show, $10,000 to win. Now this isn't for everybody, but this is the money you get your first fight contract.
Because that goes up a lot, but the top guys are earning so much more than that.
Yeah,
like McGregor wasn't earning 10 grand, is he?
Well, the first fight maybe 10 and 10.
So how does that work? How does that work and how does that scale up?
That
then?
just depends on the manager,
probably depends on your ability to like
perform.
Conor McGregor now. That's obviously my understanding of UFC. I'm thinking of Conor McGregor on the stand chatting shit, you know? That's what I think of.
Yeah. So like, for example, like, you know, don't get me wrong, there's other fighters it might have been different with. You know, if you go through the Ultimate Fighter, apparently that contract's terrible. I don't know the ins and outs, but apparently that contract's terrible. But like everybody starts off, or mostly everybody starts off at 10 and 10. But the thing is, from where I was to the UFC,
150.
That's what I mean. That you're saying there's a massive jump from when you are in UFC and then the guys who are at the top of the UFC. There's a massive jump there, but there was a huge jump between the regional circuit and then the UFC. Because, you know, I think the most I ever got paid on the regional circuit, including 2 fights in one night, was £2,250. That was the most I ever got paid.
Your prep probably cost way more than that.
6-7 months.
Yeah.
You know, especially like especially the 2 fights in one night. It was like, call it like, it was two and a half months of solid work. I've never worked so hard in all my life. Because we knew there was 2 fights in one night. Obviously, if we get on, we may as well get on to the Cage Warrior stuff. Because of, at that point, it was 2 fights in one night, I had to make sure that my cardio was, you know, up there with the best. There was a potential point that I could have been fighting for 40 minutes in one night. So there would have been, the first round was like 2 5-minute rounds. But then if you needed to go a third round, like a sudden death round. For example, me and you were fighting, you win the first round, I win the second round. We'd have to go a third round for like a sudden death round. And then the final was for the the Cage Warriors Bantamweight title, well, that's a minimum 5 fights, because 5 rounds, so 5 fights, you know. So there was opportunity on that night to go 40 minutes of fight down, which obviously me being me had to do it. You know, at the end of the day, like, I just made the job 5, 6, 7 times harder for myself. I remember fighting the guy who was considered to win the tournament first, David Hagstrom.
And then Jordan Desborough.
And then Desborough was but he was the alternate, so he wasn't even meant to be in the tournament. There was 4 of us. There was me, David Hagstrom, and on the other side of the bracket then there was James Pennington, and it was Martin McDonough, who's now my teammate. But he had to pull out a week before the tournament because he broke his hand, and then Chris Edwards stepped in, who was another teammate of mine. So then that fight ended up going to Pennington, but if I'm honest, I think Chris had broken him mentally because Pennington couldn't continue. And I think a little bit of me at the time must have thought, oh, Pennington would have pulled out here and assumed he was getting the first shot at the belt then if he, you know, obviously if he pulled out. So he ended up pulling out, and because Des was beaten and Pennington couldn't continue and I just beat Hagstrom, earlier in the night they have like a backup fight just in case something like this happens, and Jordan Desborough was that guy who won that fight.
He was a prospect at the time. A lot of people were saying that he was...
Yeah, he was good, yeah. You know,
And a wrestler.
Very good wrestler, very good grappler. But with Desborough, he was like... I know I said, it's no excuses, and he was good, and to this day I'd admit he was one of my toughest fights in my career, but the fact was, like, he had fought one of the first fights of the night, and then I was like middle of the card. Yeah. So there's like an hour and a half extra of like rest and recovery that he had. I think he finished his guy in like the second round. I ended up doing 3 5s and thought I bust my rib in the first fight. And then obviously fighting him, then the main event on the show, 5 5s.
And you were 21 when you were at the time?
I was young, yeah. 21, yeah. I always say this when I go in Swansea, or if I'm ever in Met Bar after the sesh, right? Okay.
I'll see you there tonight, though.
Are you? Yeah.
That's how the Gallagher fight come about.
What, Met Bar?
Yeah, Met Bar.
Are you in Met Bar tonight?
No, my fuck, no.
Matthew was going to come down.
I'll tell you a story about that in a bit now. But like I said, you know, like the majority of people on this planet, I always say to my mates, do you know what fucking terrifies me is when I go to the football, or when I go out in Swansea, or when I go wherever I go, the confidence in people. That terrifies me. How can someone be so confident in starting a fight when they've never fought before? Now, granted, you got like back in Swansea, upon the lice then, you got the local hard man, right? You got a local hard man, and I think, how many times has he fought? He might fight once a weekend, right? But I probably have about 6 or 7 a day. So put that on a ratio. He's doing it once a week. I'm doing it 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah, that's like 50 times a week.
With killers.
Fucking minimum.
With killers.
With killers. He's fighting. And how long is his fight going to last?
He's fighting me, who has just got a couple of muscles, never fought in his life, and he's winning. Oh, there we are. He's successful, isn't he?
He's hard. No, the thing is, though, he's fighting for how long? 30 seconds? A minute? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
We do fucking 5-minute rounds, and I mean everything goes. You know, and if you end up fighting in Japan, you got soccer kicks as well.
Have you seen Joe Rogan? Have you seen the clip of Joe Rogan podcast where he's talking about street fights?
Yeah.
Like, if you just cover up and then they swing out, and then he's like, "Let's fight now."
Yeah, you're fucked now. Yeah, the amount of times I'd sparred people as well in the past. They go, "Oh, come have a spar." I'm like, "What if you want to?" Like thinking they do alright, and you just let them fucking hammer you for fucking a minute, and then they gassed. Like, right, now it's my turn. Oh, no, I'm done now. No, you fucking ain't done. You've had your
This is me and Matthew rolling.
Yeah.
He'll wait for me to start going, and then you'll just get on top of me, and I'm like, no, stop.
That's the thing, you know, but...
No. So do you get people, like, when you're out and about, do you get people, like, sort of trying to think they're hard?
Not much, no. I had one incident, go back, nothing happened from it, but I had one incident...
No legal problems, you can't speak on.
No, I can speak on anything. I got hundreds of stories. I got Wrexham. We thought about that. Wrexham's a good one.
Millwall away or what?
Millwall away is a good one as well. Yeah. When we went up watched Nottingham Forest. Actually, I probably can't speak about that one. Actually. Yeah, no, but the rest of them I can. But I had one instant before which really fucking caught my hand. Really pissed me off. Right. So I'm looking around. I'm in Pitch and Piano in Swansea, and I'm looking around Pitch and Piano. I'm just scanning. I'm not looking for anything. I'm just seeing. Cause I'm with the boys, just having a little look to see.
Perspicacious. You got to look at your surroundings.
Yeah,
see what's cracking.
And I'm looking around, and I catch a guy, bald head, about maybe 6 foot, not that big, but like tallish. And I look at him, and he is fucking clocked on. Like he is clocked on to me, and I'm like, I look around. I look back, he's still staring. I look back around. Then I talk to one of the boys now, and I still notice the fact he's staring, but I'm talking to the boys. And then I look at him, the third time, he just turns around and goes, what's your fucking problem? He goes, whoa. And like next minute, he walks over to me like that, as if to say like, what's your fucking problem? Then one of the boys who I knew, who I wasn't with, come over and said, what's your problem, like, to me? And all of a sudden...
He probably saved him from a bit of a dodgy situation.
He ended up coming over and said, what's your problem? Blah, blah. Anyway, it boiled down. And I just remember losing my head a little bit, just gripped the guy, pulled him into the corner. I said, what are you fucking doing? And he goes, I thought you were staring. I said, no, you were fucking staring. It's no problem, I said, but you're the one just kicking off about it. I said, like, and at that point, I didn't have a drink. Some guy was just screaming at me. And to the point where everybody was like, fuck, what's this guy's problem, like, to me?
To him or you?
No, everybody was screaming at me, and everybody was looking at this guy thinking, fucking, this boy must have really pissed him off.
Yeah.
Didn't do nothing. And then when I gripped him, I had a chat with him about it, he kind of apologized and walked off. That was it, like.
But just starting on Brett Jones.
Did you know where you were then? You must
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You must have seen your years.
Everybody can see them.
Because
I could be in Boys and Swans can see my years.
Yeah, they must have started martial arts because, you know.
Yeah.
I was telling Alex this, I was saying, if you see someone out in public with cauliflower ears...
Yeah. That's the universal sign of do not fuck with this character.
Yeah.
Especially, not so much when they're big, because when they're big, you think, they could be a rugby player.
Rugby, that's what I'm saying. That's when they look at you, like, definitely.
Yeah, but if they're a short ass like me with cauliflower ears, then I think, I don't know about that.
Don't fuck around.
Not with me, I'm not saying I'm out. At the end of the day, so this is what's funny though, isn't it? Like, and I again, so the confidence in people.
Yeah.
I'm not naive. At the end of the day, I got, like, even one-on-one with someone in this world is not a cert. Like, at the end of the day, like, I've been in situations where I've seen people get glassed in the face. I've been in situations where I've seen bad street fights. I've seen people get put unconscious in the street. I know how quickly and how easily it can happen, even to good fighters, you know. And I remember I've seen a few things over my time. This isn't even gym related. This is just on about being out and about with different characters and seeing really bad things happen. The glassing I saw one time was a nasty one, really nasty one. Like, I mean, I put things into perspective. Really does.
The thing, see, you can give someone a smack, they can smash their head on a curb and die. It happened a couple of weeks ago down here, actually.
Yeah.
Someone was punched down somewhere, I can't remember, but in Llanelli, I think, knocked his head on something and then ended up dying.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even a hard smack. It was just somebody getting angry, knocking someone out. It's different in a controlled environment with mats and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you are. They got more vicious people in there.
Yeah.
And they understand it. When you're out in the street, it opens up more doors. It's like I'm telling Martha, I'm like, what happens now as a, I would say specialist, but a BJJ specialist, quote unquote. What are you going to do with them when there's 4 people with a brick in their
that's the thing. That's the thing.
I'm calling you a specialist because that's what you focus on.
But even when you put like someone like doesn't matter who it is. Like, I could be in that scenario. There's 4 boys and they've got weapons. I can tell you one thing that's definitely going to happen. I'm getting fucking hurt at some point.
Yeah. So would you run off from a situation?
I wouldn't say. It depends, really. Yeah. No, I don't know. It depends on the actual situation itself. Whether I would run or not, you know what I mean? If I felt like I was going to die, maybe I would run off. Maybe I'd think, do you know what, fancy my chances? Probably not, though.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing, though, innit? You got to be like, look, in that scenario, I'm taking a big old kick in. That's what I'll know. Regardless of what happens, I'll be taking a big old kick in. You know, and at the end of the day, that's the nature of the beast. Like, I'm not naive, you know. Put me in a situation against one person. Don't think for 1 second I'm thinking this is a cert. I'm going to batter this guy, because it's not. You know, he's like, come on, let's have a fight. I walk up to him and he pepper sprays me and then I'm done. Yeah. Have you ever been pepper sprayed?
No,
fucking hurts. Really does.
Have a go.
No, let's not have a go.
We should do it for the podcast. It'd be good.
Well, pepper spray podcast. Yeah, do that right to the beginning.
We should do it and then try and do the podcast with the pepper spray in you. Like,
do you have any on you?
No, don't fucking.
My heart got going then. I was like, I'm gonna have to commit to you now, aren't I?
No, but like I said, you know, at the end of the day, anything can happen, and it's just the realism of the moment, you know. And
but yeah, that's the thing. See, people are probably safer fighting you than they are anyone, because you're going to control what you do to them. You know you can manipulate people. Yeah. It's like with Jamie done in Fight Project. He says if he comes up against someone, you know, you're lucky because he'll just tie you up and diffuse the situation instead of smash a brick over your head and put you in hospital.
Don't get me wrong, then people are capable of being the worst type of people that fighters can be. But if you're like, if you're a level-head guy in a situation, like, put it this way, believe it or not, and people might, you know, I've never thrown a punch in Wine Street, ever. Never, not once. No, not once I've seen punches get thrown. I've seen people screaming at people. I've had guys screaming at me for no reason whatsoever. Just a case of just being able to step away from the situation. So I saw 2 of my cousins fighting 7 doormen in the doorway of Peppermint. I've seen it all. Like, I mean, it's just like, there's certain situations. I like to think, and don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna jinx myself and touch wood. I like to think in them high pressure situations. I'm very good at reading them. As in, like, even out and about, I'm good at reading them. Now is not the time to get involved, or now is the time to get involved, or, you know, like, and if I do see, even if it's a random, I do see someone getting hurt, I will step in.
So you feel a sense of responsibility then, as somebody who is able to protect. If you see something going sideways, you feel a duty to come in and diffuse that.
I guess so. I never thought of it like that, mind, but yeah, I guess so. I do. I think because I know what that situation can kind of turn into.
Yeah. You know, that's what Martha was saying. When you understand the game of fighting from your perspective, you know what the consequences are. You know exactly what can happen. Whereas me, I could be naive and throw a punch, they smash their head in the floor and think, oh yeah, he's just got a headache tomorrow. But that could put him in a wheelchair.
Yeah, exactly. And
I don't know that because I've never really done it. I've never seen it.
And another one as well which is quite like people really don't get is choking. Like, I've seen people get choked nights out, but I've seen guys do it that don't have a clue how to choke.
Yeah, so I always thought, before going to BJJ, I always thought choking was the windpipe. Strangling. I didn't realise that you were just cutting blood supply off.
Yeah.
So what I was doing was choking people to death. That's what I would have thought that choking was. I didn't realise that it wasn't. It was just a little bit of blood cut off to the brain.
But you've done a bit of BJJ. So you're one of the people now who kind of gets that. But how many people are not like you?
Who were like me before I went, thinking that I had to choke people to death.
Yeah, but for example, like if I said to a random guy, I said, right, you should choke him, and at the point of when he loses unconsciousness, when he goes unconscious, leave him go. You see a lot of people will be holding on for too long. Do you know how long it takes to put someone clean unconscious? 4 seconds, no longer. You put someone to sleep for 4 seconds. You put people to sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I would have thought it would have been like 30 seconds.
No, yeah, but no, that's dead. That's death.
Fuck.
And if it's not death, that is potentially brain damage then. But that would be death, in my opinion, 30 seconds.
We've been on a hell of a tangent. We talked about Jordan Desron.
Yeah, I've gone into this because obviously the only reason is because I don't understand the names you're talking about. Because this is your sport that you're interested in. But I am really, really interested in what it does to you as a person and how it changes you and the way you think. You know, one of my questions was, you know, when you're sort of, you know, out and about, like, how does it actually feel knowing that you can basically overcome any man, pretty much. You know, like, does it change you? Does it make you feel?
But even me in that scenario, I don't think any man. No, definitely not. There's going to be people out there bigger, harder, and stronger. There always is around every corner. You know, you could be even on your street that you live in. You might think, oh yeah, I'm the hardest in the street. But there's going to be someone there. Turns up one day that's going to be harder. And
should have a Royal Rumble on your street now.
We're all dressed in like lycra and stuff. Should
and we? Just get singlets on and have a go.
I've got a yoga mat if that's good.
But no, at the end of the day, it's like, but I'm not like I said. What terrifies me is the fact that normal human beings have that confidence. When I'm a professional fighter and I don't have that confidence because I know.
But maybe the confidence, you have lack of confidence because you understand the consequences.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't know what they're getting themselves into, so they just go into it blind thinking, oh, this won't be as bad as you know it is.
And then someone dies then.
And then someone's dead. That's why they're not scared, because they don't know what can happen.
I was watching a thing like 24 Hours in police custody a few days ago on about the punch and the curb. Some engineer, qualified engineer, like out with the lads, and he hit someone and killed him. Like, I mean, that's it, manslaughter. Was it 4 to 6 years or whatever it is? Yeah. And
it was probably just an accident. It could have been someone like me who has no intention of hurting anyone.
No.
You just feel obliged to do it. He started on you. It could have been the other guy's fault.
Yeah, it could have been.
He started and you defended yourself, and then all of a sudden you're in jail.
Yeah.
You know, which is unfair, but you've killed him.
That's the way the justice system works, and I guess you could say I'm a realist. At that moment in time, I know how bad things can go. And you're right, actually. There's a couple of things today now we spoke about, and I think, you know, you're saying about the fact that maybe I take that responsibility on to make sure nobody's hurt. I don't that's probably subconsciously I do that. But like, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, it's I'm not naive though. I've been to the football a few times with the Swansea boys and been in situations.
It can get a bit rough, yeah.
I've been in situations there where I've been in situations there where I've had to stop things. Do you know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's part of the game, really. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I never ever want to be in that situation when I'm looking at a friend or someone I know go through that, because it's horrendous. Like I said previously, I've been in a situation before. I think it was like Wrexham 2019, which was quite. I can't really go into too much detail about it, but which was quite stressful. Bit of a case of mistaken identity, where someone thought I did something, but it wasn't me, basically there. But that's like part of the thing. Like, you're involved with certain people, and certain people start around you. You hang on with the wrong crowd, it can generate that, you know. And like I said, you know, I thankfully it's just the one time it's happened, and hopefully it'll never happen again.
Yeah. Speaking about crowds, then obviously, you know, you train with a bunch of killers. Shore MMA, somewhere I've been, I've competed as well, and obviously you train with Jack Shaw, another UFC fighter, an absolute beast, a big boy as well.
Oh, no, he is.
And his father, Richard Shaw.
Yeah.
What does that relationship then mean to you? Because obviously, you know, we spoke with this podcast a few times about environment and the importance of environment. We even spoke to Flex Lewis about this.
Yeah.
Another one of your friends.
Yeah.
Flex. So what does Shaw MMA and having Jack in your corner with Shaky do for you?
Look, I keep saying it, but like, I don't think when I'm saying it to other people, nobody gets it. The boys have changed my life, as in changed the way I think about things. I'm turning up to the gym and I'm surrounded by 30 people with the sort of same goal, as in like we all want to go far in this game and we're all trying to bounce off each other to try and get there. But to have someone like Jack there, and I've said this out loud and I continue to say it, I call Jack Wills' number one. He's number one. There's nobody else, I think. Yeah. Pound for pound, with the all-round package, a very good striker, very good wrestler, very good grappler, and the last thing, the most important thing, with a really good fighter IQ, fighter brain. Got it all. And I get to train with him on a daily basis, really. And he's fantastic. Like, we used to be bantamweights going back about maybe about 7-8 months ago. Now he's gone a featherweight. He's a lot bigger problem to deal with now, like, you know. But it's to have him there, and obviously Shaky, and looking at their relationship between father and son. Like, I've been coached by my dad in judo, and it can be quite stressful at times, but to see their relationship and how they work, it's brilliant. It is. And Shaky obviously is Jack's dad, but everybody kind of looks up to Shaky in the gym as a father figure anyway. Like, even myself, I look up to him as a father figure. We got another coach there called Carl Parker, who is another father figure to us. Like, I mean, like, I got a lot of love for him.
I saw him yesterday, actually, Carl Parker.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like, he's did you go up to the
All-Stars?
The All-Stars, yeah. But like, to be honest, when it comes to like Carl and Shakes and the way they work together, like that's a package. You don't have to go up to that. No, not at all.
You got that UFC clip from London when Shakes having a go at Jack.
Imagine, like, I look, I haven't got children, but you imagine how fucking hard that is. You're in that high pressure situation. You're a dad. You're walking in there. Your son is, well, he won't get a hide. What I'm saying is, he's in a fight and he could potentially get hurt. And you're walking up to him and you're having a go at him in the corner. He's had to take the father out of that situation and be put in a coach. It's not easy to do. Like,
I can't imagine. I don't know what that's like, but I can only imagine that being a real.
Yeah.
You got to be a real certain person for that.
He speaks to me like that. I bet you it's difficult to speak to me like that. But your own son, your own blood, and that's the thing with Shaky. He can switch off like that and just do a job. And he's always been like, he's been in the corner with me a few times now, and we've worked well together. Him and Carl Parker, they'll be in my corner till the day I die. You know what I mean? They are going to be the guys who will be there until the very end for me, because the way they work. You know what I mean? They're a good team. And not only that, the week leading up to it, they're brilliant. And now I've been in that gym, I've been around likes of, like, obviously Jack, Horse, Orban, you know, all the boys. And then obviously the boys that I've been brought up with anyway, that we end up going up with together, Scott Pedersen, Rowan Crocker, you know, Owain, Rory Evans, another one. Rory Evans has been in fact, Rory Evans has been the most recent one to come up, and he's fighting
next week.
Next week. He's fighting in Manchester. Him and Horse, I think, are on. Yeah, him and Horse are on. But to have him up there as well, because Rory was one of my main training partners growing up anyway, and us slot up there with them lot. Like, I think there's an underlying issue there between Welsh gyms. there's a little bit of not so much an ego, but if we work together, we'll all get to where we want to go. But people don't want to work together. I'm not saying for every gym.
What does that mean?
For example, if you were, say, okay, you're an athlete and I live in Abertillery, right? But I want to be a bodybuilder, yeah, okay, and I want to work with the best bodybuilders, and you're one of the best at the top of your game. Well, I should be coming down here and training with you and seeing the way you do it, so I'm able to copy. Or not copy, but to kind
learn
of
from me.
Learn from. Yeah, and like that's exactly what I've done. I travel to Abertillery Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning sometimes. I go up to Abertillery to do that.
Okay.
It takes me hour 50.
To drive.
It's hour 50 one way. That I do that every day. Sometimes on a Monday I do twice a day. So I'll go up in the morning, come back home, and go up in the evening. Because that's I know. But then again, like people go, well, why'd you do that for? Well, you'll see why I do that for in the next fight, or maybe the fight after that, the fight after. You'll see why I do it. And that's the thing. Like I train up there, the guys on the mat now, professional fighters on the mat. Jack Shore, Josh Reed, Rory Evans, Scott Pedersen, Chris Edwards, Mark McDonough, Orban Elliott.
Welsh gangster.
Welsh gangster. Jack Marshman. These are just the boys. And these boys are not just professionals. They compete at a high level.
Yeah.
Like Scotty Pedersen, like, was his record of 3-3. But Scotty's first couple of fights were on Cage Wars in Bellator. That's unheard of. They're big.
First fights.
First couple of fights.
When yours was in Aberdeen Leisure Centre.
Well, my first fight was in Newport Leisure Centre. My second fight was Carmarthen Showground. Remember Carmarthen Showground?
Oh, John Phillips did a fight now there before.
Yeah, that's right.
I was there with
I did. I ended up. That was. Then I had another show in Newport Leisure Centre. Then we were back in the Tinette. I think my fourth fight. Yeah, fourth professional fight. And Scotty Pedersen's in the 3 Arena in Dublin, like fighting in front of 10,000 people.
How does that work then? How come?
Just the game has progressed, and you know
there's more eyes on it then. Is
there is, yeah. So like obviously, and all fairness to Bellator, what they do well is they don't just look for fighters who've got 20 fights. They will get new guys, new talent.
Yeah.
See it early on, sign them on, so they're all signed on to the promotion and build them up. Like a guy who's been like that since the start, and someone who's amazing, AJ McKee, just fought in Bellator. One of the best guys you can watch, you know what I mean? He's got a bit John Jones vibes, but as a lightweight, he's really good. But the game has progressed now, and like money is getting better for the up and comers. Like for example, I know I'm saying about like, you know, I my first fight was 150 quid, my second fight didn't get paid. The boys in these Bellator contracts get a minimum of like 3-3 the first fight.
It's not bad for a first fight.
For a first fight, but obviously don't get me wrong. It's not the money you want, but you're going to build on that.
Yeah.
But like, it's not 150 quid and a free Snickers. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. Like,
yeah, 150 quid's a bit. Yeah, you probably feel a bit disrespected. Like all our work has gone into that, the hardest work I've ever done in my life, and you're just chucking me spare change you found in the back of the
from the tin.
That's funny. I'll tell you why it's funny. I think it was my British title fight, right? Okay, a bit of an awkward one. I'm fighting a friend already, starting off. My mate Joe Ori from Barry, and he was actually with Shaky at the time. So he was in Shaky's gym. I wasn't there. I wasn't in SMMA at that point. I was in Swansea, and we were fighting. Dislocated my shoulder the first week of January. The first week of camp, bang, dislocated shoulder.
Start. I
was crying my eyes. I think I'm gonna have to pull out this British title fight. Blah blah blah. And I remember at the time, no, you're not gonna need to pull out. You'll be fine. Rehabbed it. Ended up coming back. Going in the first time cutting weight to bantamweight as well, which my first cut was horrendous, but I made the weight. Jumped in the fight. Got to tune in for like 3.5-4 minutes. Then ended up triangling him and then winning the British title, and then got handed over a check for 300 quid.
Oof.
British champion.
For 300 quid.
Yeah.
There's bigger checks
British champion.
Stars.
This is what I mean. Like, when I was saying earlier in some sports, even when you are like showing like I'm good at this, I'm British champion. Still like, no, you're not worth the big bucks yet.
Yeah.
I know it's naive of me to think that that's how it is.
No,
but
the thing is as well, it's the promotion. And remember, it's in Newport Leisure Centre. They probably got like 100 people there, 200 people there max, and they haven't got like 12 grand to be paying fighters there. So, you know, I understand because I've been a promoter as well now. So I'm kind of at the time I'm like, oh, this is a joke. I'm getting paid this much. It's an absolute joke. But then I've been a promoter to try and promote fights and been like, yeah, I can see why they're doing it really. Like because they're not able to make money. That's why Shaky Show Cage Warriors Academy Wales now, which is a show concentrated on the amateur fighters of Welsh. Not so much Welsh MMA. It's not Welsh MMA. It talks. We have boys from Scotland come down now. It's more like it's a British regional show based in Wales, which Shaky runs. The way that he pumps promotion, that you can see that Shaky puts every penny into that promotion and just wants a platform that he's able to work off. And let me tell you one thing. As far as amateur shows go, and I think you'd agree, Liam, as well, it's the best one out there, hands down. No professional fights, all amateur fights.
Yeah,
the standard is incredible, and not of the standard of fights. I mean the standard of the show is
so incredible. How would that compare to professional? Like, obviously you've got to earn the professional level, right?
Yeah.
So how do the amateur sort of scene compare to professional?
It's not like it is in boxing. So I think a lot of people look at boxing and say you've got to have this many fights, you have got to have this many things. You might need a Welsh vest or something to go pro. And it's a big thing when you go boxing professional. In MMA, you can go professional. You don't have to have amateur fights. You don't have to.
Oh, I just say, I'm going to be a professional.
Yeah. Obviously I won't go on and tell your mates you're a professional without actually fighting professional. What I'm saying is like you can go, right, my first fight is going to be professional MMA.
Oh, so you just decide?
You can decide if you're good.
But obviously the standard is
well, this is where the amateur rules say you don't want to be going in and going like, I want to be a pro now. You want to kind of learn the craft, which is, and this is the good thing with amateur fighters nowadays, they used to be like that. Why would I want to go amateur and go pro? I'll go pro then.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, why would I go there when I can start pro?
Yeah, why? Why would you? But then again, you'll be building up that fight thinking, I've got no experience here.
Yeah.
And the amateur fighters now, like Scott Patterson, what's he got? Like 25 amateur fights. Now he's gone pro.
Yeah.
Like within the last year and a half, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So fighters now, they're getting more intelligent.
Surely there's got to be some criteria. It's like in bodybuilding, like this is the way I see it. You win a pro card.
Yeah.
You've got to compete and you've got to win that fight, you win that competition, and only then are you eligible to go pro. You can't just say, I'm going to compete in a pro show.
Yeah.
You have to have earned the right to be there. I would have thought it would have been the same.
It's not. And to be honest, this is where we need some sort of criteria put in place.
Yeah.
We do. Then again, though, people forget as well, this is a brand new sport. Probably come about properly in the early 90s. It's a brand new sport.
Yeah, it's in development.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
I was about to say that actually. I was about to say that because obviously you, Jack Shaw, Marshman, John Phillips, pioneers of Welsh MMA.
Yeah.
Do you think because we're Welsh, people sort of doubt us? Because you see that Wales doesn't produce a lot of exceptional athletes. You've got Gareth Bale, yourself, the football team, all the fighters I just mentioned, Flex Lewis, as
Calzaghe,
well. Calzaghe, not forgetting about him. And I feel like a lot of people have a lot of limiting beliefs about our country.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I do think Wales is kind of has been overlooked. The only difference is with the Welsh MMA scene is that we don't look at the English as hierarchy. As in football, the hierarchy is the Premiership. That's the main one. It's obviously the teams like Cardiff, Swansea, Newport, Wrexham will look at them as hierarchy because that's what they are. As in judo, Welsh judo. But if you want to go to the Olympics, who have you got to represent?
Britain.
That becomes the hierarchy. The good thing with our sport is there's no hierarchy other than the country itself. This is why Welsh fighters are able to get on shows, big shows, because the bosses of Welsh MMA are Welsh people. The boss of English MMA, some people might like to be called British, but Welsh, if you're Welsh, years ago, you'd have to fight for a big team. The big teams at the time maybe was London Shoot Fighters, Wolf Slayer in where was Wolf Slayer? Manchester or Liverpool, something like that. Wolf Slayer. There's loads of fighters gyms like that, but now the game's evolved now, and the game's become more popular, and they got more fighters, and that means more gyms, and that means more opportunities, and this is why I think the Welsh MMA scene, we don't look at the English for guidance. You know what I mean? Most other sports they do. You know what I mean? And I think that's why the Welsh MMA scene, I don't feel like we get overlooked as much as judo. When I was doing judo, it was terrible. I find a lot of the Welsh boys had no opportunities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the good thing with MMA is you're your own sort of person, and you can go as far as you want. It just kind of matters on results. You know, if you're 10 or you're knocking people out left, right, and centre, you're going to be heard of, and that's the good thing with the sport.
Because I feel like
that's good. It's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, in Wales, it does feel like you're kind of in this pit, and unless you're English, no one's really going to hear of you.
Yeah.
I was going to say that because there's very few Welshmen who sort of break out onto the international level. You know,
I think you're probably quite well known across the world because of your UFC performances, and especially the calf slicer against Soto.
Yeah.
And obviously another man who's done that is Flex Lewis.
Yeah, all from
our local,
within a stone's throw of each other.
Yeah. Flex is the difference with Flex is he took a big risk back in the day, bigger risk than what I've ever had to take.
Yeah.
Where he moved himself into the situation where he could become someone else.
Yeah, he moved.
You know,
yeah.
because do you think? And I think Flex would say the same now. Do you think he would have had the same opportunity if he was living in Wales sooner? Probably not.
Well, did he move straight to Las Vegas?
No. What I can recall, he was in Fort Lauderdale in Miami. For a while.
Still a much different environment.
That's it. That's the way
because much more prosperous. There's opportunities to go there.
Yeah.
Because we asked him about this, and we were like, "Oh, I don't want to move away and feel like small fish, big pond." And he was like, "No, when I moved away, when I decided to make it big, I thought no one's gonna fuck with me. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it." And he hadn't proved that yet, but he said he was going to, and obviously he has since.
Like that guy is like what. You know, like you said, he's not the goldfish in the little tub in the kitchen. He is actually the great white shark in the ocean. Like nobody messes with Flex Lewis.
Yeah, and I think that the friends you put around you and the people you associate yourself with definitely define who you are.
Yeah, definitely. I think you boys would know. You've had a chat with him. You spend 30 seconds with him, he'll change the outlook on your whole day and your whole week and your whole
month. He did.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's what I enjoy having a chat with James. Like he's a great guy. Like
I was about to ask you what your friendship to Flex meant
just
to you.
Honestly, just through social media, and then obviously when he comes back home, we meet up and stuff. And to be honest, it's hard really, but not so much with him now because he's retired. And it's mad, see, because like at the point it was like he'd come back home and like, oh, I can't drink, so I got a fight coming up, or he wouldn't be drinking because he got something coming up and stuff.
And beers and
and all fairness to him, mate, he's just like I said, I can't thank just Flex enough for just having the chat with me, you know, because like I said, that chat is good enough for me. You could just sit down with him for like 20-30 seconds and that's it. Blow your mind.
He's really into the sport as well.
He is, he's in with the UFC guys, with the Bellator guys and stuff, and just trying to wait for him now to give Hans Mulkenkamp a little nudge again, give me a monster sponsorship. Like,
I remember seeing. Do you remember the All or Nothing videos you did?
Like them, and there was a video of you in his gym, and
that's right.
I think you were approaching a weight cut. So obviously, you seemed quite down, but then after that, you seemed very uplifted.
He was with Rafael at the time, the Brazilian bald. I mean, do you know him? Rafael's. I can't remember.
They had a bit of a flex off as well.
Me and him, probably took my talk and sort of, this was a guy that Flex was kind of like kind of mentoring, and we doing interviews in his gym in Fort Lauderdale, and they were like, "Oh, take your top." So I took my top, and I got this photo next to this bodybuilder. Like, man, he's so huge. But that time, it was like a case of like the diet and stuff's incredible. Like as of right now, you know, just today, then I'm under that 11 stone threshold. 10 stone 8, maybe? No, 10 stone 9, call it. Back in the beginning of January, I'm 12 stone. Like starting so January 12 stone. I'm 10-9 now. I've got to be 9-6 in about 4 or 5 weeks or whatever.
Because I was going to ask you about your future in Bellator, because obviously
supposed to fight James Gallagher.
September
didn't happen, unfortunately.
I'd have loved to be in there to see that. That's definitely a fight I want to watch.
Yeah, I would have done it in his backyard. Like I said, and like I spoke to loads of people about it, and I said, like, you know, with me personally, I was prepared to go behind the enemy lines and fight him in front of his people. And on September 24th, I was the one that showed up and he didn't, you know. So, look, I don't know what he's up to. Don't know what he's got.
There's a lot of pressure on him in that situation.
There is a lot of pressure. And like I said, you know, like you said earlier, fight or flight, and he's flying away. But yeah, like I said, I kind of look past that now. It's sad, really, because I think that was a good fight for a local European MMA scene. You know, people watch it. I don't know, man. Not what, me?
Do you think you and James Gallagher?
I'd fight him in the garden there. Don't bother me. Like,
we'll fly him out, should we?
Yeah. Let's organise it.
Rumble and tumble. No, but like I said, you know, it's just one of them things, really. And like, I'd like to say, it could happen, but it's not me that you want to chat about it. It's him. At the end of the day, we were scheduled to fight, and he pulled out. And then when it was approached for a second time, he was fighting some Brazilian fighter and he pulled up from that fight. So I don't know what the score is with him. To be honest, I've got my eyes on someone else, but I want to get this next fight done out the way. I can't really say anything about the next fight, but I want to get the next fight done out the way. And if that goes to plan, we get a win. We sign a new contract with Bellator because I love fighting for the promotion. It's a brilliant promotion to fight on. You know, I when I was growing up, I wasn't a UFC fan. I was an MMA fan. I was a fan of the sport. I used to watch Bellator, UFC, Pride. I used to watch WEC, everything. But yeah, I want to keep going. I'll happily finish my career in Bellator, but I want to get this fight done first, and then I've got a name in my head that I want to call out after the next one.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not going to be the winner of Aljo and Cejudo.
Look. If I could ever rerun that fight with Aljo, I would. But at the minute, the guy's in with the stars, like I mean, and I'm just over in Bellator from a distance.
You're not calling any beef live on a podcast, then?
No,
not calling any names or any exclusives.
Look, I'd love to, but it's the element of surprise is going to get with the fight.
I tell you what, we'll just put part of the conversation. We'll bleep it all out. I'm gonna act like you've given some his views, brother. It's got to be done.
Who do you have then for that fight? I wanted to ask you because obviously you fought Sterling, so you're in quite a unique position to comment on that. And I think a lot of people are interested in this fight as well.
I have fought Sterling, and this is gonna sound crazy, right? And don't get me wrong, I watched his last couple of fights, and he's kind of proved me wrong. Really, I've always said I'm
so glad he beat Dillashaw though.
Yeah,
I can't stand TJ Dillashaw.
No, I'm the same. I'm not a big fan of Dillashaw. Like
not personally, it's because of the whole drugs.
The drug thing, yeah, same with me as well. Because I used to love the guy when I was younger, you know. But when I look at Sterling, I always said that Sterling was not the best fighter I ever fought, as in fighter, but was definitely the best mixed martial artist I fought when it comes to his brain. The way he thought during the fight, the way he was approaching the fight and stuff, the way he acted in the fight. I thought he was the most intelligent fighter I ever fought, hands down. And I understand why he's the champion, because he uses his brain very well. The only issue is Cejudo is probably one of my favourite fighters, as in skill-wise, level. The only thing I'm a bit questionable about is going to be the weight difference.
Between them both?
Yeah, I think Sterling's going to be quite a considerable amount heavier than Cejudo.
Really?
And I do. And I think people say, oh yeah, but it's wrestling. Yeah, but I think personally, and I won't be surprised if Sterling will have about 15 pounds on Cejudo, which is a lot of weight. What's that, 6-7 kilos?
Yeah.
I do think that.
Yeah. Do you think he'll win? Do you think he'll beat him?
If I had to put money on it, I'd say Sterling.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
That's
not because I fought him, because I'm a big Cejudo fan. I like Cejudo. I just think that weight difference is going to be quite big. Like you watch Cejudo fight then the top flyweights in the world. Don't get me wrong, he's wrestling and stuff, but it's hard to wrestle flyweights, and these are bantamweights and they're a little bit bigger again. And then he
fights Volkanovski then.
Yeah, then you got Sterling. You got Sterling who's in a position to go to featherweight if he needs to, because he's that big. The thing is, people don't realise, when I fought him, believe it or not, I was heavier than Sterling.
Were you?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if the record's changed, but until a certain point in the UFC, I think it was August 2017, the heaviest fighter to make weight and fight was me. Nobody beat me.
Really?
I went from 135 pounds, 5 pounds, 158.
It's bizarre that you're talking about people being big, being 160 pounds.
I know.
Because Matthew sent me a list of weight categories for BJJ and what weight people start cutting down, and it starts, you start cutting down super heavy, 220. I'm 240 right now. I'm 100 plus kilos. I'm pretty heavy. Me thinking, that's all right for my height and everything, and then you're saying, he's big, he's 160. I know you're working within the weight categories. I'm thinking, fuck, I'm huge. I gotta get down.
Cutting weight is no joke though, and I've seen
it's crazy how quickly people cut weight in MMA and stuff like that, and they sit in the sauna. I've seen video. I think it must have been some Ultimate Fighter or something, some program, and then people were locking people in the sauna, trying to get them to cut weight, and then they got kidney problems. It's quite dangerous though, cutting so quick.
Yeah, I've had some bad cuts in the past. Yeah, really bad cuts.
What makes it bad then?
Because I've never understood that. Obviously
well, it's got to be dehydration, right? The kidneys are.
Yeah, do you know, obviously by that point, right now, I'm always hungry. I went to bed last night hungry. I've woken up hungry. I'm hungry now. I'm hungry.
Sunday dinner if you want some.
I'd love to. I did.
Let's have a pint and halfway then.
A pint of some of them. What's it called? Bacon and sprouts.
Bacon and sprouts.
Bacon and sprouts. No, it's just.
I feel like I've tempted you now. We've been making nice food. Smell that.
This is what you could have had. No, but not like. If I'm honest, it's you're always hungry through camp, and I think a lot of fighters would agree. You know, unless you're like you've got an incredible metabolism, like one of my best mates, Scott Pedersen. You know, Rowan Crocker, who's obviously a really good fighter and a friend of mine. He's mine and Scotty's S&C coach as well, and he's doing excellent. Obviously, he went to the world stuff, but he's saying like the difference between me and Scotty, like Scotty can eat like 3,000 calories a day and not put on weight, and I'm stuck on my 1,800, just the way we are, like, you know.
1,800.
That's what I'm on a day. Yeah, and that's that's with training as well. Yeah, I've been on that since January, really. Don't get me wrong, I've gone over maybe once or twice or a few times, but nothing crazy. But yeah, so like this depends on the metabolism, but like you spend the whole camp hungry, and then 24 hours before the actual weigh-ins, I'm probably 8 pounds over 24 hours before.
And you're shredded,
yeah, just like luckily full of water, and then you lose that 8 pounds in that 24 hours, or 10 pounds technically, because when you
in water, but that's when it becomes dangerous, right? When you get really dry.
Because at that point, then the hunger stops. It's all about thirst. It's all about drink, you know. So for like the 8 or 9 weeks you've been dieting, you're always hungry. You get to that stage, and then it's just like I just. But
you're deficient in loads of nutrients at that point, so you must feel like completely zapped.
Oh, like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never been had to do that.
Like I'll put it this way then. I have never ever had a fight which was harder than a weight cut, ever.
Really? Because they say that you've said that before.
Yeah.
You said that in one of the All or Nothings videos. You said that the fight is the weight cut.
It's the easy bit.
Yeah.
Fight is easy.
So if you've made weight and you've gone through that cut, then you've won half the battle. Then
bulletproof. Then that's why every fight you see him after weigh-ins, and you've been to enough UFCs to see us, Leo, is you see fighters before the weight cut and you don't speak to them. You don't approach them. Just leave them alone. And then you see them after they've made weight and see what they're like then. It's as if they've just unlocked this door of happiness.
So what's the protocol then after you weigh in then? Because I always see on the embeddeds, but I've never actually understood it. Like what is the protocol after that?
We like the whole timing's changed now. So the weigh-ins used to be like 4 o'clock, but they've changed them now. So they're 9 o'clock weigh-ins in the morning. It gives us more time to hydrate. And I like that. I do like the early morning weigh-ins.
So is it the same day of the fight?
No, this is 30 hours before.
Friday night.
So essentially 2 days, is it? Or was it the day before?
So like for example...
so you'd fight, if it was Friday morning, you'd fight Saturday afternoon or something?
Yeah, sort of like that. Right, okay. So you've got 30 hours in total on average about 30 hours. So you got 9 a.m. you'll make weight. And I'm just going off my last schedule of my last fight. So 9 a.m. you got to be on the scales, on the dot, on the contracted weight. So for title fights, you don't get the pound allowance, but for non-title fights, you get the pound allowance. And you think, oh, 1 pound's not a lot. Let me tell you one thing, that pound makes a hell of a difference.
That's like not even half a kilo.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're there, when it matters, that pound is a massive, huge difference, right? To lose an extra pound from that frame, then you've already lost 20 before then. Yeah. But that's massive. So then I make you jump on the scales and you 9 o'clock, hopefully you're on weight. If you're not, you've got like an extra extended 2-hour period. But you don't really want to use that. So 9 o'clock, I'm on the scales, weighed in. As soon as you make weight in the official scales, bang, job's done. You've done the weight. You can go and drink. You can go and eat. You go back 2 hours later for the face-offs. So you face off with your opponent. And then you just eat until you can grow, and you wake up.
So what's the food like between weigh-ins and fight then?
Look, everybody's different. Some people go stuff their face with fast food. Some people be super strict and not eat any fast food.
Like burgers and stuff?
Some people do.
Really?
I've seen boys on the scales pick up, as soon as they make weight, literally, as soon as they make weight, they're on the scales, opening a can of Coke and doing a can of Coke.
I suppose when you are that dry, anything you put in your body gets like absorbed immediately.
Yeah. But that's the point where like I do a lot of sugar-free drinks. I do a lot of like low-calorie drinks and stuff like that. But when you make weight, you want to do the opposite. You don't want the low-calorie drinks because you want to put calories back in you. And
so you could essentially put on 15, 20 pounds again.
100%.
And that's advisable. Get as heavy as possible.
Well, I won't say get to a weight which you can perform comfortably at. Yeah. That could be 15 pounds. That could be 25 pounds. But that's what you want to do, is try and get the weight where you feel at your best, yeah, 15, 20 pounds, yeah, I do that my next fight. No problem at all. 30 hours, yeah, no problem. No problem.
It probably isn't that hard because your body wants it so desperately.
Yeah. I'm probably doing on the Friday after the weigh-ins. I would go out on a limb and say I'm probably doing, or between 9 o'clock on the Friday morning and Saturday about midday, 3 o'clock, I've probably done 7,000 to 8,000 calories. Yeah.
What about alcohol then? Do you get any people who like go on a mad one before fighting? I know only because I've heard like, you know, John Jones says he does it. Yeah. Is that like a common thing?
No, it's not common. I hear this, to be honest, I think it's unheard of. But John Jones is one I've heard of, and someone else is a guy called Jesse Taylor. Who was meant to fight Christian Duncan on New Year's Eve this year, but he got hit by a car. I'm not sure if you remember that. Got hit by a car in London the day before his fight, then pulled the fight.
Not ideal.
But he's another one. Yeah, people who drink before fight and stuff. Donald Cerrone is another one who does a beer and stuff.
Did he?
Through camp and stuff, yeah, through his weight cuts and stuff. He will
a beer.
It's
not even like a spirit mixer. It's like a full glutinous beer.
Yeah, but you know, all these boys do it. Like, you know, me, it's not for me. Like when it's time to knuckle down, like I consider myself a big drinker, as in like I go out with my friends, I like to go socialise with my friends. I don't go out to have a social.
Yeah, every couple of months I hear people say, "Oh, Brett Jones is halfway last night."
So I don't go out, but I don't go out and just have a pint. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
I go out all it.
Yeah. You can't half-ass anything.
You go home, like, you know.
Exactly.
So, and that's the thing, really. So like, and I usually do that after a fight. So like, don't get me wrong. In the past, that's the past. Any aspiring fighters listen to this, don't copy what I done in the past.
Clearly worked.
Well, it did work at the time. I remember fighting Kyle Prosser, one of Shakey's boys, and again, one of the toughest fights I had. And he basically was, I was basically pissed the week before the fight, basically.
On a mad one.
Bank Holiday. I was actually Bank Holiday weekend in September, yeah, and I got absolutely.
I'm seeing you in Met tonight, 100%. Yeah. So can you pull that down just a touch? Yeah. I don't want it to cover your face. That's all.
There we are.
I feel like you've had like a bit like a introduction to sort of combat sports.
Yeah.
Through this
I'm day one. You can probably tell. Like I'm interested in it because I like. I feel like I'm on a self-development journey.
Yeah.
And I truly believe as a man, not at least learning to fight is. If you don't do it, I think you're missing a big part of building yourself as a man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out there and act hard and say, look what I've done. Look at that. Look at my ears.
Yeah.
I'm just saying being able to fight is a big thing. I want to be able to walk out with my family. You know, if someone kicks off, I'm protecting them. I want them to feel safe around me. It's a part of my masculinity. And it's been a gap. And I've been telling Matthew, I'm like, I can act hard all I want, but if you lunged at me now, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
You know? I don't like it, and I feel like it's important, and that's why I've come away from things like powerlifting. I was kind of training for a comp in powerlifting and ended up realising that I got no cardio, I'm heavy, I'm loading my joints up. I'd rather do something where it just makes me better all around, and it's something you get from it. You know, it's like bodybuilding. All you get is abs, and that they look good. You can't do anything with abs, you know what I mean?
Like I said, and hopefully you'll be in a situation where you'll never have to use it.
Yeah,
but I prefer to have it just in case, you know. And that's not the reason why I started fighting, by the way. I started fighting because I was 4 years old, started judo, and fighting's always been my life, you know. I was never good at any.
Your sister, didn't you, to do?
Yeah, my sister was already in the judo club at the time, and then my mother started taking me and my other brother along, and then eventually my sensei was my stepdad, and we worked together.
He taught you judo.
Yeah. When we had 16, then it was kind of. We all kind of did really well, all of us. Like as a family did well. Like don't get me wrong, there was no major medals, but we did all right. Like my sister made the British team. I think me and my brother got like 5th in the UK at one time, and my younger brother Darren was like a phenom, but just didn't care. Was like happy just to I'll do a bit of rugby, a bit of football, but like played for. I think he had the Welsh cap for rugby, played for Swansea City a year up, and did judo and stuff. Like he didn't care. And was doing parkour when he had spare time.
Yeah, cool.
You know, mad, and he was good at all of it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then me, I was a little bit different. I had to work hard for everything I did. You know, I was a goalkeeper for a while, for like under 12s and stuff like that, for a young age up, and then hit 16 and you're full-size goals and you're 5'6", and you realise that dream was coming
that was me, except I was quite fat.
Yeah.
So I just left it out.
Yeah, well, like I said, at least you were big. I was fucking like that in the goals I was. Like people just chipped me every 5 minutes, like, I mean, but And then obviously judo was a thing I was okay at doing, and because I did it so often, I think I got better and better and better. And even out of the 4 of my mother's children that did it, I was probably the guy that who had to work the hardest, wasn't very good, wasn't very confrontational, wasn't very aggressive. You know, I remember getting to competitions and leaving there with a bronze and being like, as if I'd won gold. I was chuffed, like, I mean, I'd just win a medal, I'd be happy. And something happened when I went to MMA then, is something switched over. I was like 15, 16 in school, watching it on the laptop, on the libraries, and just watching it and then going, do you know what, I'm gonna do it. And I decided to do it, and obviously I haven't looked back since, but I think I found my sport. There's no other sport I'm good at, and I don't think there'll ever be a sport that which I'll be good at. You know, I enjoy football, I enjoy rugby. Am I good at it? No, I'm awful. But fighting, MMA, it seems to be my sort of, I can understand a little bit more. Yeah. You know, so I don't know what happened there, but it seems to.
So, just take me a little bit deeper into why you love it so much. Like, what does it do to you in your mental health and your mindset and everything? What does it actually do for you?
To be honest,
because surely you don't do it to get punched in the face all the time. It's got to be something bigger.
No. Obviously, it's more, you know, to put it like, it's a job now, I guess. It's just my form of income, of course. But before then, I don't know. I think fighting's developed a lot of detrimental mental issues in my life for us. You know what I mean?
Developed.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
so it hasn't necessarily helped your mental.
Oh, it's definitely helped me. It's helped my confidence, and I was a very, very quiet, timid kid when I was younger. Very quiet. I think that's why my mother put me into judo in the first place, was to develop some sort of confidence. Very quiet, painfully quiet.
Really?
Yeah, painfully. Just didn't like any sort of confrontation. Didn't like sort of arguments. Would probably just agree if I was having an argument with somebody, I'd agree and back down. I was just that sort of person. So then my mother put me into things, but then obviously doing the sport, the confidence I've gained from it and so on. But yeah, it's created a lot of issues with me myself. You know, I've had to let a lot of people go, and a lot of people have left me, as in like close people, close friends. Bloody hell, yeah. I think a lot of friends I used to be so close with, now I'm not, because it's just the way the sport is.
Because of the dedication, you had to become selfish.
Yeah, it's a very selfish sport, and I'm probably one of the most selfish people you've ever had on this podcast, really. You know, don't get me wrong, I do things for other people, of course, if I can. But if it meant, like, I've missed funerals, I've missed weddings, I've missed parties, all because of the sport. But the real big mental issue I probably have is with my weight, is with not so much the way I look. I don't really care about the way I look. It's just more to do with like my weight. I could have this fight now and I'll fight for a year, but for 12 months I'll be worried about my weight, worried about the way I look. Do I look big? Do I look healthy? When someone comes up and goes, "Oh, you're looking really good," do something that says to you, for example, "Yo, mate, looking good."
But that's what I want. Yeah, I like people to say, "Oh, you're looking thick, you're looking big."
It's the opposite for me. It's the opposite. It's like after a camp and I'm enjoying myself, and I don't look fat. I go back to my normal weight. I look bulky. I look good. It's the way it should be. But somehow it just doesn't register with me.
Are you worried people are going to think, God, he's gone off the rails here?
I don't really know.
Drinking beers, God, he's left it behind now.
Yeah, I don't really know. I to this day I don't really know what it is. Like I watched a bit like a bulimia documentary with Freddie Flintoff, who's had some bad issues with his own like image and stuff. And I watched it not because I thought, oh, I'm gonna kind of compare. I watched this out the blue. Me and the missus watched it. And then I'm watching it, and like the TV's up there. My missus doing this. You do that. You do that.
What to you?
You do that. You do that. Things like eating a meal and being sick. Like that's bulimic. That's bulimia.
Yeah, that's like textbook.
Yeah, I've done that.
Really?
Yeah. In the past.
So do you think that you've probably got some sort of eating disorder?
Not. Don't get me wrong. Since I've been up to Abertillery, I think it's become a lot better. Maybe because I'm surrounding myself with other fighters that cut weight, and I can see what weight they are and see what things is. But I'd be lying if, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think I've ever come out and said I've done that, like been sick after eating, but I have done. I remember I did outside Bon Comp. Yeah, I remember doing it.
Yeah, but this isn't something
that's the first time you've ever said that publicly.
Probably, yeah.
Really?
So, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, yeah. It's just
I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that.
But then again, it's to the point where it's like, it's not secret. It's like, you go out Abertillery and the running joke is Brett's got a problem with his weight. Every time we walk in the gym, fuck, Brett, looking big.
Is this a common?
Even if it's not, like,
really,
as a wind up though, they do as a joke, like, you know,
because
it's like that's the running joke with me. I'd say, like, you know, people got weaknesses in this sport. My weakness, I'd say, is that. There's the diet side of it, and
does anybody else, do you think, feel the same way about their own weight within the sport?
I think a lot of people do, yeah. And if you speak to a lot of people like dietitians and nutritionists and stuff, like my mate Taylor says, it's quite common, especially when you're in a sport which is all focused on weight. You know what I mean? We're all focused on weight.
Scale weight as well, numbers, chasing
numbers all the time, yeah. So like, you know, people like a good way of doing it is weighing in on a once a week. So then it doesn't matter what, as long as you weigh less than the week after, it's fine. I weigh in every day.
That's the problem. I mean, even our coach will tell us, don't do that, it'll drive you nuts.
Yeah, and
because you are going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You fluctuate natural things. Like, for example, I picked up a lot of like bad, you probably would have heard about this. I picked up a lot of bad skin infections over the last few years. Ringworm's one, but that's not
very common though.
Very common, ringworm is. But then the second uncommon one, which seems to catch me out a lot, is staph infection.
Staph's bad.
Yeah, staph's really bad. Yeah, I've had bad staph infection.
I haven't heard of either of these.
Basically, it's like a staph infection, but the doctors here mistake it for like an insect bite, but it's not. It's like an infectious. I don't really know what the actual.
But what causes it?
It's bacteria from like mats.
Mats, sweat, not washing the mats properly.
Yeah. So like somebody bleeding the mat and then you.
I won't say bleeding. It's more to do with like sweat and stuff, and you get it'll feel like an ingrown hair, and then it'll become warm and it'll become sensitive to touch, and then all of a sudden, then your arm's going pinker and pinker by the minute. Then it's like antibiotics. My brother's been hospitalised because of staph. He had about a hole that big on his ass cheek, going in about that deep with a staph infection. Yeah, so like
I didn't know about that.
I've had staph in the back of my neck, but you can see a bad scar over there actually. Have you ever had it before?
2 or 3 times.
Yeah, 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I probably.
Is it really common then? I've never.
I'd say it can be. Yeah, yeah. You see all the top fighters in the gym, like
So they've all had
Kevin
it.
Gastelum's had it bad.
Yeah, bad. Yeah, it's Kevin Randall, man. You can see his fucking lung. He had it in his armpit. And
What? Just completely
a
eat
hole
through
there.
the skin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
You haven't had it, though, have you?
No.
No. Touch wood.
Oh, it's so bad.
touch wood. Honestly,
No,
it's
but,
not. Yeah, that's why it's important. Like, wash after a training session. Like, you know, I used to be that guy who used to go, I'll have a shower when I get home. No, you have a shower straight away. Because trust me.
Is that why a lot of the boys immediately change after, or is that just because they're sweaty?
No, this way, get in the shower, wash yourself completely, and just get changed. It's a big part of like thing, you know. Then ringworm, skin infection, antibiotic cream that'll go within a few days. But staph infection, if you're not careful, it can kill you.
Yeah, but surely you see the warning signs before.
Oh yeah. My arm, I felt like the one I had my arm here, I felt like my arm was going to drop off. That's how bad it was.
Really?
I think it went so big and swollen and pink. And I thought the doctor said, "Oh yeah, that looks bad. Yeah,
yeah, that's not good. Ooh, you know what they go? Oh yeah.
And do you know what happens then? I'm on antibiotics, so I'm taking antibiotics for my arm. But then I remember like it was, this is where it goes back to the weight thing. I'm on antibiotics for my arm, and my weight's not so much going up, or it's not going down. It might be going up
a bit.
Because the water retention in the tablets. But I'm panicking then because I'm going, well, my weight's not going down. Yeah, because you take antibiotics. But I know the reason why it's not going down, but it still makes me panic. Yeah. I had it before after the Montel Jackson fight. I was driving home from training. I just had a bit of staph infection. I looked at it, I went, that's staph. I know it's staph. Because you could see like a little pink head there, and then a bigger surface area of pink. And I went, right, that's staph. And then I was on the M4 driving home, and then a lorry hit me on the M4 at 60 miles an hour. Really? Yeah, a month before the Montel Jackson fight. I go to hospital. I'm on painkillers for the accident. I'm on antibiotics for the staph infection. My weight's not going down. I'm going absolutely mental.
You're going to Yas Island as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the fight islands. And then what's worse is then I've been told then, you better take like a week off by my coach. So I'm not training. My weight's not going down. I'm on all these tablets. The people like going like that, and then get to the fight and get your hand raised. It goes, oh well, then you want to fight. It's over the last fucking 4 weeks I've had. Like
that's the thing. No one thinks about our fighters.
Pedro Munoz. I crashed the car with 3 weeks before Pedro Munoz got taken over by a Ford Ranger. Also not my fault.
Everyone's got an
That's bad luck. That is. That's real bad luck.
It wrote my Super Impreza off. My rally car like was tamping. But no, it's like that's the thing. You know, at the end of the day, I'd be lying if I said the sport hasn't developed a lot of like mental issues for me.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, it outweighs the cons, the pros and cons. Obviously, the pros outweigh the cons. Of course.
Well, as long as that's the case, then it's worth it.
Yeah. I've won 2. when I did judo, I never won a Welsh championship. Never done it. And I started this sport out, and I always said that I only wanted a Welsh title. That's all I wanted. As an amateur, I only wanted a Welsh title. I'll happily give it up after that. Then I won the Welsh. Then I won a British. Then I won 2 world titles with 2 different promotions. So like everything from like here on out, honestly. So I won the 2 world titles, went to the UFC, had a really good stint in the UFC. Regardless of what anybody else thinks, I believe I had a good stint in the UFC.
I think that's factual.
Yeah.
Pedro Munoz, you only lost to Pedro Munoz and Aljamain Sterling, top contender and champion.
I know. So like, you know, I've only ever lost to world champions or people who have held world titles. It's the only people I've lost to, and I've never been stopped by them. I just lost the decision. Don't get me wrong, they weren't close, but still they were decisions. I'd done a stint in Bellator, which was a promotion I used to watch when I was younger. So technically, I'm done, I guess you could say. I'm finished. There's nothing else out there.
Well, in my view, as somebody who obviously doesn't understand it that well, but if you have only lost to world champions, then that's got to be pretty close to what the top the top is, the peak of MMA fighting.
I'm getting to the point now as well where my record is starting to kind of turn into a bit of a veteran record. So like I'm, like a common record in the game, whatever a common record may be, could be like 10-3 or 7-8 or 8-7, whatever that may be. I'm 19-3. I've had like a lot of fights, and that's not on about my amateur career. This is just on my.
That is a good record, though, mind.
Yeah, it's a good record.
So what would be what's the record?
If I'm honest, I've said this now recently. Since I've had the record, records mean absolutely nothing at all. Nothing. They don't mean anything. It just matters on who you fought. Robbie Lawler was the welterweight world champion. He was 21-10 at the time. The welterweight world champion. Who's going to call him crap? Well, he's got 10 losses. Yeah, but he's the UFC welterweight champion.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? So like, it doesn't really mean so much, but like, I just think it boils down to who you fought and
how hard the fights were.
And I think I've been lucky because I say I've been lucky. They give me fights, and I never said no to fights that I was scared of. I've always said yes, no matter what the name was. I did say no one time, which was February, and they asked me to fight this certain individual in the February, and I said, look, it's a bit too soon after Christmas. I'm quite heavy and big for the weight, so I'll need a bit more time. And then I fought him in the August anyway, which was Pedro.
Yeah.
I said, look, I'll fight them. I don't care. Like, and I think they called my bluff. They said, oh, you said you'd fight them. I said, yeah, all right.
Was that on the Cody Garbrandt card?
That's it. Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Cody. It was Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw 2. Oh no,
was this?
No, 2. I think
they haven't had 3 fights. Sorry.
Yeah, no. But then on the co-main event was the night where Cejudo beat Johnson for the flyweight title.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was a big card.
Yeah.
That was at the LA Lakers play basketball. LA. It was a big card. Like, I remember I had that kick in with Pedro, and I remember.
Fight tonight, was it?
Well, no, it should have been.
It definitely.
When I found out, I was on a hospital bed in some random hospital in LA. Like, honest to God, it was mental. It was like, and I was just like, look at the phone, scrolling on Twitter, refreshing to see who got the bonuses. Fight of the night, Cejudo Johnson. Like, thanks, Dana. Cheers, pal. But I remember then the 2 matchmakers. I think it was McMahon and Sean Shelby were arguing with Dana, saying, "Trust me, that wasn't the fight. This was the fight."
Could have just given you all 50k.
Yeah,
so why was that something political or some stupid shit?
No, apparently he wasn't in the venue at the time I was fighting. Apparently, so he didn't see the fight. So look, it is what it is. It was a 50k mistake for me though, but it doesn't really matter. But like the point is like when we walked out that arena that night, I couldn't walk. I had to get carried at the cage. Right? That's how bad my kicking was.
That wasn't the night where you blacked out, is that?
No, this was like the Pedro fight, which
the calf kicks.
Yeah, the calf kicks, the kicking I had.
Yeah.
And I got carried out. And I'd been in that arena for 20 minutes, but didn't once look around to see where I was. I just kind of was focused on the fight, was focused on Pedro, was focused on the referee, my corner. Not once did I go, fuck, look around, look where you are. You haven't taken any of this in. You're in one of probably the biggest fight of your life, which was a numbered UFC event, UFC 227. And I went, just have a look around. And as I was getting carried out the cage, they were interviewing Pedro behind me, and I said, stop. And then the 2 guys were said, whoa. I said, stop. And they were like, why? I said, because I need to fucking see. Like, I've been in this venue for 20 minutes and don't know what it looks like. And I looked up and I went, fuck, there's a lot of people here. This is after the fight. And there's a lot.
Really? You didn't even look up once?
Didn't take it in. I might have looked up, but I didn't take it in.
Ask you.
What goes through your head when You know, you're standing across the cage from each other before you touch gloves.
Fuck it up. Honestly, it's like, it's mad because loads of things go in your head. You know, you're thinking, fucking hell, why am I doing this? That's mostly what I think. I think, oh, when you listen to school a bit more.
Because a lot of people are like that. They're like, shit, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I should be doing it. Fight or flight time. I think that's. I can't get. It's gone beyond the point of no return now. Though.
But that's the thing. See, I love the pressure. I know it's completely different.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like school and stuff like that, I always did much better in exams because I was like, right, it's go time. I can either fuck this up. It's the only time that matters is right now.
Yeah.
So I need to. And my brain just applies everything I've learned.
Yeah.
When I'm in lessons, which is training, I don't do anywhere. I don't get the same grades. It's only an exam when there's pressure and there's time pressure. And I'm like, right, let's go. Otherwise, it's all gonna go wrong. Kill or be killed at that point, isn't it?
That's exactly
the exams.
That's exactly.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's kind of funny.
What
But
you said there though is exactly what I'm like. I don't really perform in the gym, but I perform in fights because, you know, it's just that pressure of now it matters. But do you know what you said then earlier about like when you stand across the cage and you're fighting, like how do you feel, right? Okay. When you're doing your PJ comp, so you're fighting someone who's across the cage. The difference is, though, is that you know he's got the same experience as you. You know, you're in there, you're just ready to fight, and it is what it is. The result happens.
I don't see anything else.
No, nothing else. Yeah. But then when you're in there, and then you stand across the cage against someone you've watched since you were a young boy, like Aljo, like Pedro.
Yeah.
You used to watch them guys on TV and go, "Fuck me, one day I'll be fighting one of them guys," and then you're actually
there.
You're in there.
yeah.
I remember
That must be nuts.
I remember looking across the cage and seeing Pedro, and I like when I looked at him, I didn't see Pedro Munoz. I saw the guy that had been knocking every single person out before me. I'm thinking, why are you in this cage?
It's like you, Matt. If you all of a sudden got a point where you're grappling with Gordon Ryan.
Yeah, that's
as if in it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what Brett's saying. That's what he was like.
That must be nuts, actually.
Yeah, you stand in front of me. Like, I was a big fan of mixed martial arts before it signed.
Actually, I tell you what, I'm experiencing that right now though, because I haven't said this to you, Brett, but I used to work in Tesco.
Yeah.
And I've served you in the click and collect before.
Have you?
I've took stuff to your car for you, and I was delivering.
Oh,
before.
right, okay, yeah.
And you were running. I was parked my van. It was by Farm Foods, and I parked my van, and you were jogging past.
Is it really?
So I've seen you twice. I've interacted with you twice when I've been working in Tesco.
Is it? Where's that? Clancy?
Yeah, in Trostre.
And I've also met you before outside Nando's and in Holland and Barrett in Trostre.
Fucking hell.
But this has been like a mad bit of.
Oh, mate, no, like I said,
Bit
it's
of full circle for me.
Mate, at the end of the day, you put yourself in these situations, though. And you know what I mean? At the end of the day, no matter what you do in life, you put yourself in situations. Like fighting has now become. I used to be a fan. I guess it's now a job. I've met the Conor McGregors, I've met the Diazes, I've met the Yoel Romeros, I've met the Demetrius Johnsons, I met the Jorge Masvidals, I met all these guys. But then I got freaked out a few weeks ago when I went to a town called Malice, a new series on Sky Original, where they invited me up there to go to like the launch party.
Yeah.
And I met up with Nick Love. And you boys are probably thinking, what the fuck is Nick Love? I met up with Nick Love. That, to me, that's like, wow, my mind blew. Proper fanboy moment.
Gotta be honest, I don't know who Nick
Yeah, exactly.
Love is.
That's what I'm saying though.
Is.
It's other people's thing. It's other people's thing about different people though. So Nick Love was the guy who created probably 3 of my favorite all-time films. He was the writer, director, and producer for the films. Like, do you mean? Which was Football Factory, which was The Business, and The Firm. But I am an absolute mad. Talk hours about Nick Love and the way he films things and stuff. But that's like my own personal thing. Like people get freaked out about different people. I bet if you meet up with Flex Lewis is a bit mad.
Oh mate, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like for me, I had a chat with Nick Love and said, look, change. And without being thing, like obviously everybody knows that my sort of hobby now is like fashion. I love fashion, in particular Italian fashion.
History of Stone Island.
Yeah, this commences part 2 of the podcast.
But even like down to like the earlier fashion of like the 80s, where like Alessi, Fila, Serge Tashino come in. It was because of Nick Love that I started getting. Yeah, because obviously the films like The Business, like The Firm, that's what really got me into that sort of style. But that's a story for another day, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
But I just want to say thank you,
Brett, for your time
Hey,
today.
no problem at all.
This has been immense.
I'm gonna lie, I'll just say now, it might be unprofessional saying this, but we've been on the hunt to try and get you on the podcast.
Do you know what? Right,
That game over there. He's
thanks.
no, I honestly, it's been a long time.
It's Matthew, because Matthew deals with like guests and stuff like that, and he's been doing his best to get to you.
Yeah, no worries at all, man.
Thank you.
So yeah, I actually do appreciate you coming down. it means a lot to us, and I know it's not a sport that I've followed, but your name is a name that I've known for years. Down here, you are like Flex Lewis. It's sort of like it's just like a household name, isn't it? You know, Leslie, MMA, Brett Johnson, or whatever.
Not as big time as Flex yet. We take my 1 million followers and they'll compete with them.
Yeah.
But it has been nuts. It's been insane for me, especially because I used to serve you your shopping.
Do you remember what I used to have?
Kit.
Come on, this is a test now.
I wish.
Kit Kats, antibiotics.
Yeah.
And a couple of F&F jackets, I think.
F&F jackets.
F&F jacket. We're still on the back side on the side.
Stitched it on himself. But thank you, Brett, for coming on today. This has been an unreal podcast, and I hope someone's took some value from it. Oh, one question for you, actually. What would your biggest piece of advice to someone who wants to get into martial arts be? I was going to ask this, and it slipped my mind, because obviously you've got someone like Alex who is like below white belt. I'd probably say. Yeah,
I've literally been like a couple of times.
But like we briefly spoke about it during the podcast there. Like when I spoke to Alex about it, it's just the element of the realism of the world out there. You know, anything can happen. You've seen some mad things happen over the years where you would want to be in a situation where you're clued up. And what I mean by that is like, it's hard to say, but like, you're in a world now which is unpredictable. Anything can happen at any time, you know, and you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're like, shit, I wish I had something behind me. Like we said before the podcast, really about people. There's billions of people on this planet, but a small percentage can or know something about fighting. Whether that's a bit
it's not them I'm scared of.
No.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's not people like you I'm scared of.
No.
If I'd started giving you some real grief and I thought you were going to come and smash my head in, then I'm scared. Yeah. But it's not the fighters I'm scared of.
Yeah.
It's the hard men who are going to go to real dirty deaths.
Yeah.
Those are the people I'm scared of. And I get a sense of anxiety. Like if I was going to Wine Street tonight, I got anxiety deep in my stomach because I don't know if I can hold my own if somebody starts with me. And I want to be able to go out. I'm never in a million years going to go down Wine Street and throw a punch. I'm not that guy. Neither is Matthew. But I want to know if something does kick off, I can at least hold my own or protect somebody else if need be.
Yeah.
If my mates are in a fight, I want to be able to defuse that situation.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm going to start blacking out and go, I don't know what to do here, and I'm going to freeze or something. I don't want that to happen. I want to have the tools and use them where necessary. That
is the reason why you want to start martial arts, is so you're able to have that sort of understanding of a situation, of knowing how to defuse a situation. Exactly what Alex said there is the exact point of why you want to start mixed martial arts. Not to go around and knocking people senseless. It's that if one day that someone comes knocking on your door, and you're in this situation, that you're able to control your side of it. If you're there against someone who's done a little bit of boxing, he's got a plug against you, and you haven't done anything, you're in for a bit of a bad night.
I'm in for some trouble, yeah.
You know? So that's the one reason for the self-defense aspect. We're living in a dangerous old world nowadays.
You can't say, but it's people shouldn't be like that. The reality is people are like that. So it's like, people are like, I don't like the way the world is. We should all be nice to each other. True, agreed.
Yeah.
But that's not how the world is, and you on your own are not going to change it. So you not learning to fight for self-defense because you don't like the way the world is. I don't think that's good enough.
You're very naive. Very naive. As in like people that think like are naive.
Yeah. And
naive.
I mean, I once thought I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to be in competitions like this. But as a man, especially as a man with, I would say, a decent amount of muscle, like I'm a bigger guy, I do tend to rely on trying to act like I've got something. But then that attracts people as well.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all of a sudden my cover's blown.
And someone calls you bluff.
That's what I mean. That's the thing that scares me the most.
Yeah.
I've talked the talk here.
Yeah.
And my actions, my ability to fight isn't where I've said about it.
But you've only talked the talk, so you can try and avoid the situation.
I've got to give myself a bit of hardness so that it's like, okay, maybe not today. He's not going to be a tough cookie.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why you should start. And anybody with children, the best thing, there's no such thing as too early. Whether you're taking your little kids on the pads in the living room, or whether they're old enough to attend their first classes in whatever sport you choose.
Yeah.
You know, it's important, man. It's important. Like, I've got out of a lot of situations. God knows what would happen if I didn't have what I've got in these situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the realism of this world. You know, we live in a crazy world, and anything can happen at any point.
Yeah.
We got to be ready for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to.
That's a very good note to end on.
I'll let you have closing remarks.
Thank you, Brett, for your time today, brother.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Thank you very much. Awesome.
It's been a great episode, this has, and I hope everyone at home enjoys this. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Cheers.